We're going to start this evening's meeting, and first I'd like a motion for opening the meeting this evening.
I make a motion that we open the Board of Architectural Review and Historic Preservation meeting for December 11th, 2013.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Welcome to the December 11th, 2013 meeting of the Architectural Board of Review and Historic Preservation. My name is Curtis Highsmith, and I am your chair. Introduce our panel. Unfortunately, Esther Pastor is not here this evening. We would like to welcome Ham Hogue, Christina Redding, Brian Brady. We'd like to welcome our historic consultant, Zach Studenroth, our legal counsel, Will Robinson, and as always, we'd like to welcome you, Antoinette. We're going to start this evening's applications with sign permits. And first application,
Hammond
please.
Developers, 67 Hampton Road, for storefront sign.
Stacy Menzer, Hampton Signs, good evening.
Good evening. Lettering matching what's existing, is it same as the, I guess, Richard Nisi and,
It is.
okay, is
There,
gold?
I'm sorry?
Gold?
There's a first page in front of you, which is really their preferred logo, which would be this color combination,
Okay.
and would be smaller than just the gold. So this is the one I would like to present.
Okay, so you're the first design where it has the overlapping lettering, or stacking lettering,
Stacking letters.
gold and silver.
Both of them brushed.
Ham, comments?
It's good, it matches the rest of the ones on the building.
Christine?
Nope, I have no comment.
Brian?
Fine.
Any public comment on the application? I have no objection to it either. Motion to approve.
I make a motion that we approve the storefront sign for Almond Developers. on
Second.
Hampton Road.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next application,
Next is
please.
a job sign for Nobiletti Builders.
Is the applicant present? Please step forward. Your name for the record.
Gayleen Schomer.
Okay. Name of company, custom homes, telephone number, and a website. Is that the font?
Yes.
Is that a sample of exactly what you're proposing?
Correct.
Ham, any questions?
No issues.
Christine?
I have no issues with that.
Brian, any comments? Any public comment on the application? I have no objection as well. Sign off by code enforcement as well. Motion to approve?
I make a motion that we approve the contract to sign for Nobiletti Builders.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Good luck. Next application and final.
Application is Fred Through, architect, and he's holding a sign there.
Your name for the record, please.
Right through.
Okay. This architect that has it back upside down. It's not good.
I like that.
Could you turn it around so the film camera could pick it up as well as the audience? Ham, any questions? Christine, any comments?
Aye.
Brian?
I'm fine with it.
Any public comment on the application? Motion to approve.
Thank you so much.
I make a motion that we approve the architect sign for Fred Through.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Concludes our sign permits for this evening. We go to our historic applications. First application,
Chair, first application is David and Sylvia Hermer, 51 Pond Lane, for a COA for demolition of existing structure, cottage, garage, swimming pool, shed, construction of a new two-story single-family. There's a written decision in front of you.
okay. Is the applicant present? We don't have a full board. Do you want the application to be voted on? I'm sorry, the written decision to be voted on, or did you want the, you do? Counsel?
Pursuant to the consensus of the board, I prepared a decision. An affirmative vote on the motion for the decision would be to deny the certificate.
Mr. Chair, we have a quorum on this board of at least 4 board members, and I would like to go ahead and push the vote, not push the vote, but have the vote tonight so that this application can move forward in its own way.
All right, nothing further, no other dialogue. It is closed for written decision. Motion to approve council's written decision for the denial of the COA for the applicant. Motion, please?
Want me to do it?
She would have to.
I make a motion that we approve the written decision for David and Sylvia Hermer to deny the application for the certificate of occupancy.
Second.
So appropriateness.
Certificate of appropriateness, sorry.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Nay.
It was 3 ayes and 1 nay. Next application, please.
Next application is Marcia Rickless, 700 Meadow Lane. There's a written decision in front of you for construction of accessory shed and arbor.
Counsel?
In front of the board is a written decision pursuant to the consensus of the board approving the application. An affirmative vote on the motion would be to approve the application.
A motion to approve written decision by counsel.
I make a motion that we approve the written decision by council for Marcia Rickless at 700 Meadow Lane.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next application is for John Aquino for demolition of existing dwelling at 281 North Main.
My name is John Aquino. I'm here to represent my family.
Application.
I understand that Mr. Studenroth has made a recommendation.
We did empower our historic consultant to do a report
Okay.
on the application, as it is part of the process in evaluating any property that's within the historic district and a contributing structure. Mr. Studenroth?
Yeah, well, I prepared a report. I did a site inspection exterior, from the street, and the report is in file. I'm going to summarize without reading it word for word.
Thank you.
I believe technically what's being requested here is a certificate of appropriateness for demolition of a contributing structure in the historic district. What's in the file also is the so-called building structure inventory form, which is the standard survey form that was done back in 1979, which initially identified this, among many other structures in the village, as potentially contributing resources to a district. As you know, the district was then created and adopted locally in 1986, and this house and other accessory structures, etc., on the property have been considered to be contributing to that district ever since. So there is also in the file a brief engineering assessment of the house, which gets into aspects of the interior structure, which does not really affect your deliberations. Basically, I'm finding here that this is a house which appears to be of mid to late 18th century period. It possesses various characteristics such as its exterior massing, etc., that are indicative of that period. It's clear that the chimneys have been rebuilt, or 2 new chimneys have been rebuilt to replace the original center chimney, which would have been typical. Also, that low attic shed roof dormer has been built subsequent, well, perhaps in the mid-19th, rather 20th century. But there's nothing that I can see from either the engineering report or from my own assessment of the house that would suggest that it can't be repaired. And I think an application for a certificate of appropriateness to demolish a contributing structure in the district has to rise to a level that would suggest or demonstrate to the board that the fabric of the structure is in such a state of deterioration that it is beyond reasonable repair. And so that is my conclusion, that it does not meet that threshold. And so I'm recommending that the building be repaired rather than be demolished.
Historically, if the building has been substantially changed, would that affect your recommendation? Because the whole front has been added on.
Which front would that be, sir?
Well, the photograph that you've seen, dated about 1900, you seem to have some doubts of whether that was actually the house, because there's quite a few different things on there.
Yeah.
I have found an old foundation in the basement, which tells me that the whole front of the house has been added onto, because looking at this old photograph, the roof is considerably shorter than the roof is now. The windows are longer than the windows are now, And all those things, I couldn't figure out why that was the case. And I went down to the basement and I found an old foundation, which is probably dated around before this old photograph, the 1900 photograph. And I submit that it may have been a salt box at one time, but that the whole front was added onto the house. Post 1900, post this photograph.
No, well, I would say the photograph that appears in the building form that was done in 1979, whether this historical photograph that you've had, which is quite a wonderful view, understanding that it's taken from down looking up, so that artificially foreshortens the roof.
I don't think it does.
Well, we don't have the time to
Right.
debate a difference of opinion of that sort. I'm suggesting
Right.
that is my professional observation. And I can also see what's quite typical. You know that the two chimneys that you have now are of rather new construction. And it's not uncommon to take that center chimney down, because that occupies a lot of floor space, and two smaller chimneys will service the fireplaces in those flanking rooms and open up more of a center hall arrangement. I don't have the access or opportunity to assess the interior fabric or the layout. That's really not the subject of this board's review. What I'm saying, absent this photograph, it's of interest, but it is not even necessarily the house we're talking about. I'm not convinced that it is. What I'm basing my observations on is the massing of the existing house, which today is somewhat more deteriorated than what you're looking at here, but this is the house. And I think the critical architectural, structural elements to look for are not whether or not there's evidence in the foundation or cellar for something smaller. It's not uncommon to have a smaller house of an earlier period enlarged at a later point. What we're looking at here would be defined by the
Well, what does that do to the historical integrity of
It gives it-
what you're basing your decision on? If it's already been changed since 1900.
No. No.
Yeah.
What I described in this brief report is that there's a house with the massing and the footprint that appears to date from the mid to late 18th century. If there's an earlier section in there, that would add interest to it, but it would not take away from the essential massing of this building. The window sashes are later, as I said in here, they're from the late 1800s, 2/2, kind of late Victorian type. They evidently replace, what would be more typical would be 12/8s or 12/12s, which are shown in this picture, but these are typical of the period. That doesn't make it this particular house. It's just indicative of that period. What would be a certain way of dating this would be an inspection of the roof frame. Because if you look at the peak of the rafters, you'll see the numbers, which have been carved in Roman numerals, from one end of the house to the other. You can compare the front slope to the back. If that roof frame is essentially intact, there might be a couple rafters have been replaced, but that would define the massing of the house that you see now, the full two-story structure. And you would also want to look at the cellar framing, the floor joists, the perimeter sills. So all of that,
That I
for
have
someone
inspected.
who's really digging into it and wanting to confirm how did this house evolve over time, that's what you want to look for. All I'm saying is that from the description that your engineer has given us in terms of the condition of the exterior siding, the interior structural, architectural trims, etc., there's nothing in that report that would suggest to me, or I think the board, that this house has gotten to the point that its condition is so ruinous that it can't be repaired. That's my point. I think we're all aware that roof fabric, whether it be wood shingle or any other kind of fabric, rarely lasts more than 30 or 40 years. So we wouldn't look to the roof shingle to be the determining factor. And similarly, it's very rare to find a house of the 18th century to retain its exterior wall siding either. That's typically renewed and updated. So
But
all
that's
of
all
that-
cosmetic stuff.
that's
And
what I'm
that's all
saying.
easily replaced.
Correct.
What is
But I
not
mean,
easily,
that has been-
what is not easily replaced is the bones of the house, which you haven't seen,
That's correct.
and which tells another tale.
The engineer does not tell a different tale. The engineer tells the tale that that fabric can be repaired. So, then that's my recommendation.
Okay.
Zach, just for the record, so you understand, Zach's not a voting party of this board. He's
I know that.
empowered to go out and do evaluation. Obviously, his expertise would be of homes, especially indicative of various periods. And he's given us the ability to, or at least hindsight on the property, based on his expertise, and give us an evaluation on whether the property is, in fact, not only is it designated, but it still mimics and merits the degree of designation that it currently holds, or the classification that it currently holds. And then it's this board's responsibility to either take that information and make a ruling on it, or we also have the discretion to disagree with whatever ruling he has, and to grant based on the merit of your testimony. So at this time, that's his evaluation. Do you have anything to rebut or to add to his evaluation?
Well, no, I just took some photographs of what I believe is the old original
I just have
foundation.
one question, John.
Yeah.
Are you saying that your belief is that within the foundation, just out of curiosity, was an existing salt box with a center chimney that was then, you're saying it was taken out and the chimneys were opposing, and a new foundation put in?
Well, if we accept this photograph as being this house,
Yeah.
which I'm not convinced, because many
And
of these
I'm sorry, the
houses...
12/12s went to 2/2s, exactly
Yeah, it
when?
was typical as the...
They were like 12/8.
They're
12 over
12/8s,
eights.
and they went to 2/2s, and in doing that, it's not uncommon for the actual window openings to be
Enlarged or
made
smaller?
smaller, something
Right.
changed, because the sashes are not entirely equivalent.
Uh-huh.
What is probably most indicative of the fact that the strongest evidence that this photograph is your house is a very unusual fenestration, which is that there are two windows down on either side of the front door and only one up, centered between the two down. Oftentimes, more typically, you get all five upstairs.
Right.
Occasionally, you'll get one on one side or the other, centered between the two downstairs. In this case, both sides. It's rather unusual, and that alone that's evidence of the fact that, this could very well be the house. The roof pitch, as you're describing, appears different, but the fact that there's a center chimney here and two now is a very typical way of taking down that center chimney, whether it's falling down or it's occupying too much space, whatever the problem is, because smaller chimneys will do the job of venting a furnace, whatever is desired in the early 1900s, and you get a great big center hall out of that space. So that's a typical upgrade of that period. But those are the kinds of changes that happen to these early historic houses, which are not considered to take away from their interest or value as just part of the story of the house. So we're not...
Well, now, there's a new story to the house, I think.
Good.
It's ready to
Okay.
fall down.
And why is that?
Well, it wasn't maintained, I guess.
Okay.
Was that the consensus of the engineer report that you submitted? I didn't read.
The engineer-
I read the report and I didn't
Yeah.
see it in there, so that's the reason why I'm asking.
Okay, well, I think it would be smart of us to maybe get another engineer's report. I'm not sure what happens now. What is the procedure?
Well, the board has not spoken.
Right,
We've heard the report from our historic consultant.
Right.
And at this time, we'll pull the board and see if there's any public comment. We're just giving you the opportunity to either rebut or gather the information for yourself from the historic consultant. And then if there's any additional research you wish to do, you can request this board to adjourn until you have that information. Or you could request this board to make its ruling based on the information that we have. Let's pull the board and see how they feel.
okay.
Ham?
I'd like to see some more information, another engineer report. I have to be frank with you, I haven't completely studied your report in its depth. I'd like to see it broadened a little bit more to include the study on that, not a study, but a little fenestration would be good. I'd like to see the fact that there was 12/8 and then a change over to 2/2 and explore it a little bit more, period.
Brian?
I went to see the house, and I have seen houses in much worse shape get repaired, so I agree with Zach with his findings.
Christine?
I agree with Zach too. I think that this house could be repaired.
The challenge that this board has is its first precedent should be preservation. And what you're leaning towards is more of a hardship than it is preservation, or that the structure can't be repaired. I think you're more leaning towards that the costs in repairing it would be substantial, and that's a different process. So I want to make sure we understand the variations of processes
Well,
that come before this board.
It may not even be financial.
Okay.
I think it's beyond.
Well, based on the
Yeah.
engineer's report that we have, now we have to base it on evidence that we have, and also on historic consultants' evaluation. And based on the information we
He's
have,
just looking at the outside of the house.
but your engineer report looked at the inside.
Oh, well, I had sent him a letter, Mr. Studenroth, and gave him my phone number and said, please call me and I'll be glad to show you inside the house.
We want to first and foremost, before we begin, to look inside of the house, which is not within our jurisdiction to do.
Right.
We try not to do so because it could cause challenges if we enter into a home. Because by far, it's not within our jurisdiction to look in the interior of the home, and it may, in fact, in some form or fashion, when it becomes a legal case, be challenged. So we want to make sure that we're very, there's a last point of
So
resort.
he's commenting on the historical nature of the building,
And the exterior,
but he has made,
illustrations
yeah,
and,
and so we have an engineer's report. I think I would like to get another engineer's report,
Okay,
and I think I would like to lead the engineer around to show him various parts of the house, because in my opinion, I've been building for 40 or 50 years, whatever it is. My opinion is the house is beyond repair. So I would like to further dig into that, and if the criteria is that the house can be saved because it's historic, if we find out that it can't be saved, then that's a different story.
well, remember, we have to take all evidence that has been received. So if you are coming back before us with another engineer's report,
Right.
we would obviously have to measure it up to the report we have currently in our file.
And then then we would request an adjournment for that.
Well, I don't,
To
at
gather
that
more.
point, I mean, you're asking me what we'll do in a future
Right.
process, and at this time, we don't know. We have to base, the activity on the information we have, and then we can proceed from that moment on, making a decision on whether you would wish this board to make a recommendation, or if you wish this board to just vote.
John, I'd like to look at this a little bit more and get on site. I apologize for that as a member, and I'd just like to ask a few questions and review your report as well as the engineering report.
Let's see if there's any public comment,
I have some
and
additional photographs
Okay.
of the basement.
You want to enter those?
maybe
in?
you want to either enter those or also include those in the
And I put
engineer's
some
report.
notes on the back. so-
Okay.
Is there any public comment on the application? Okay. So you heard the board's, you heard from the historic consultant, you heard from the board, and you suggested that you wish to do another engineer's report.
Yeah.
So at this time, you're asking the board to adjourn so that you can do the.
Yes, I am, because I think this is, I think we need to dig into this a little bit deeper.
Thank you.
The feasibility of his recommendation, Mr. Studenroth's recommendation, is that it can be rehabilitated. I don't believe
Well,
that.
anything can be rehabilitated.
Yeah, if you've got $20 billion.
Now you're talking, again, we go back to the
Exactly.
cost factor.
Right.
I mean, that's ultimately what we're talking about when it comes to, it's one of the things when you purchase and you're working within the historic district, anything can be refurbished, repaired. It's just obviously what the cost you're willing to put into that, and that's a different process before this board.
Well, okay.
Anything
So I
further?
request an adjournment.
Okay. Anything further from the board?
No.
Motion to approve applicant's request to adjourn.
I make a motion that we approve the applicant John Aquino's request at 281 North Main Street to adjourn to our next meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Good luck. Next application, please.
This application, Mr. Chair, is Carol Lynn for construction of driveway gates. It's closed for a written decision. On the survey, it indicates Perkins as being the owner. I think the decision is written towards Perkins as opposed to Carol Lynn.
Counsel?
Decision is,
The decision in the file is based upon the consensus of the board to approve the gates. There seemed to be some confusion in the interpretation of the documents in the file regarding exactly who the owner of the property is, but it's been decision written in the name of Allison Perkins, and if that's incorrect, then at some point in time, the correct owner can remedy the mistake at the building department.
but the gates are nice.
Motion to approve written decision by council.
I make a motion that we approve the written decision by our counsel for Carol Lynn at 196 Hill Street.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Next application,
Next
please.
application is Stephen Woodcoff for demo existing barbecue and construction of a new roof barbecue and pizza area.
All right.
All right.
Yeah.
We getting interested. That's really historic there.
It's a serious application.
What you're presenting, any different than what's in our file?
Just the renderings.
Renderings?
That's correct.
Okay. They are the exact same or replicate what's...
Correct.
There's no stamp, Curtis, sorry. Need to write it.
Again? No stamp, no heat.
It's not up here, right?
Thank you. No, it's not.
No, the date.
Good evening. Jose Jimenez from Southampton Engineering for the client, the owners. We are proposing, you have the drawings, but if you go to the renderings, there's the little side plan that shows the pool, it shows the current location of the pool house. We're extending the roof, the heat roof, just wrapping it around to cover the new barbecue area. That basically we're matching the columns that are there. We're matching the roof materials, the stucco material on the low walls, and the chimney pizza oven. So
It's the same drawing, it says 290 Cooper's Place?
there's a little bit of confusion because they own 290 and 316.
Okay, so it's one big.
It's one big property. Yeah.
Zach, anything historic we need to know about alterations? No addition. Christine, comments?
Where wish I lived there.
Ryan?
I just want to clarify that there's some trim details and column details in your drawings that are not in the rendering, so it's the drawings.
Correct. The renders are more basic, but shows the
Right.
shape of the building. But we're matching every detail that is there.
Then I have no issue with that.
Pam?
You're matching the stucco and so
We're matching
forth?
the stucco, the color of the stucco.
Okay, I don't have any issues.
Take some of these back.
What these?
Any public comment on the application?
Here you go.
Anything further from you, Zach? Application is in the historic district, so? Sir? Application is in the historic district, so therefore it requires a written decision by council. So you understand that it's time we'll adjourn until our next meeting, where council will prepare the written decision.
Okay.
Any comments?
No.
All right. Anything further from the public? Anything further from the board?
Nope.
Motion to adjourn for written decision by council.
I make a motion that we adjourn Stephen Whitcoff at 316 Cooper's Neck Lane for written decision by our council.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Next application, please.
Jonathan and Linda Platt, 47 South Hill.
Hi, Lynn Mahana, here representing Farrell Building, and Jonathan Platt, here for
Lynn, who's the applicant here?
We are the applicant. We should have in the file an authorization from Jonathan Platt.
Okay. And you've done your affidavit of posting and mailing?
In file.
Great, okay.
Proceed.
Okay, this is basically just, we're looking for just demolition. We do not have a design yet in regards to a construction. No, it's in the historic district. However, the house was built post-war 1946. It was started and finished in 1947. We don't feel it has any historic value as much as in this district.
Is that
I believe there
contributing?
was.
Sorry, I haven't had a chance to look. This is a photograph of it and its neighbor in the file. As far as I know, this is not a contributing house.
No further review for you? Unnecessary?
Unnecessary.
Pam, questions?
Yeah, I'd like to double check it. In the historic district, it's worth just a view. Even though I agree with you, Lynn, it's probably, I think it's part of our board's thing that we should do a site visit on this.
Christine?
That's my opinion now.
Christine?
No, I have no question.
Brian?
I have no issue with it. I think it would be fine. That's this whole street I know very well, and it's basically all new homes on it. And I think the historic district was sort of referring to when it was connected to Hill Street.
Any public comment on this application? All right, we have a member who has concerns about.
Although I'm fine with the vote the way it is. If you guys are gonna vote positively, but I'd like to double check, that's all.
Okay.
Okay.
So, we seem to have the affirm votes to proceed on with the certificate of appropriateness to demo. It doesn't seem from our historic consultant that, from initial observation, that it merits a contributing structure within the historic district, and therefore, it seems that this board will allow the process to proceed. At this time, because the property is in the historic district and all decisions have to be in writing, we will vote to adjourn for written decision for certificate of appropriateness to demo. Any questions?
No questions.
Anything further from the public? All right. Motion to adjourn for written decision by council.
I make a motion that we adjourn Jonathan and Linda Platt at 47 South Hill Street for a written decision by our council.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next
Kurt.
application.
Mr. Chair, Kurt and Lorena Struck, 7 North Sea Road for construction and alterations.
Wait,
Oh,
you skipped one. You skipped
I
one.
beg your pardon, I'm
Elizabeth.
sorry. I don't think I did on this.
Janky.
Janky number
No, it was
7.
just, I believe,
We just did Stephen. Now,
I'm
I'm
sorry,
sorry, we
I
just
can't
did
even
John
see it.
Platt, and now we're doing Elizabeth.
right, okay, sorry. I just assumed with Farrell that that was 483 Hull. Elizabeth, John Key?
Lynn Mahana again for Farrell Building,
And Terrence McKean from Wilmanier Architects.
and I have to.
We also have some design drawings.
If you could hand them there, they have to be stamped in.
Okay.
Thank you.
Do we have the affidavit of posting and mailing? Thanks. Agent Lynn. Go ahead, Lynn. Which one of you guys are,
Okay. Well, we're doing a new two-story structure. It's cedar shingles, sweeping gable roofs with white trim. There will be a cultured stone chimney. And basically the color of the stone. are here. Do they need to date that? The stone will be in El Dorado, Cliff Stone, Monticello color. The trim around the windows will be white. And it will be 4/2.
It's a flag lot. I know it's a vacant flag lot. Concern, you should have in your package the landscape plan, which is showing our screening for the lot, the finished product that will screen out the neighbors. To approximate this project, once approved, would be about a 5-month span. If we could get started shortly, we could get it done before June. Not disturb summer.
Not our concern.
Okay, just putting it out there.
Ambitious. Would you consider another alternative for the cultured stone?
Yeah, we would be open to, yes, we would be open to
Okay.
any suggestion the board would have.
Okay.
And if you wanted to go with a brick or what have you.
What are you proposing now?
Yeah, cultured stone.
Culture stone.
Yeah, this is actually
David, thank you.
stone, and like I said, it's an El Dorado stone, cliff stone, and some Monticello color.
Brian, comments?
You know, we have the issue with big terraces off the back.
51 feet side yard.
No, the terraces
Yeah,
in the back.
same, 51 feet side yard.
Okay. That's funny. No, I don't have any issues with it.
Christine? What he was saying, just so you know, and understand for the record, typically we look into second-story decks for the purposes of
Privacy.
Privacy.
Yeah, that's it.
and what I mentioned is the amount of side yard setback where the line of sight may not be as infringing as other applicants within the village of Southampton who typically have narrow lots.
Yeah, we're well within that. Our setbacks are more than generous.
Has nothing to do with the setbacks. I'm talking line of sight from the second-story deck to impede on someone's privacy.
Right.
Ham, comments?
I'd like to see the stone changed to brick, to
Brick?
Danish blend or a jumbo D or something, other than cultured stone. Danish blend would be
Danish
fine.
plain, that's fine. Get
Okay.
it done.
Other than that, I don't have any issues with the balconies or with the terraces, if you will.
The stone is duplicated on all the terraces and all of these.
You could switch that to brick.
So all of that will be switching over to brick as well?
Correct.
The landscape?
I mean, there'll be a bluestone top and brick, Danish blend.
Perfect. Good. Thank you. The rest of the house is fine.
Any public comment on the applicant? Whoa, okay.
Curtis, can I just jump in quickly?
Absolutely.
Since this is in the historic district, Hill Street is a wonderful street and has kind of a character all of its own. It's not occupied by large dwellings. It's occupied for the most part by kind of medium-scale Victorian era dwellings. And so I think, I understand this is on a flag lot, so that sets it well back out of the view as you're driving up or down Hill Street. But I would be somewhat concerned about what this rather large opposing house appearing off to the side on Hill Street, because Hill Street doesn't have houses of this scale or size. So how effective will that screening plan be so that you don't see the house from the street, or that it doesn't impose? You know, I saw the house.
Well, there's a landscape plan in there.
There's a
there is.
screening plan, yep.
Okay, because these foundation plans don't mean more than the,
Oh, you passed it.
Should be the second
that was
page.
it?
Second page.
Yeah, there's-
Oh dear. Well, how high are
I-
those?
Is it 30
They're
feet?
Leland cypress,
Okay.
they, if left to grow naturally, they can get up to 30 feet, about 10 feet
They
wide.
grow like it.
Like I said, if they're not kept, you know, that's how, and they will be planted
I
around.
think
the
that's a
entire-
sort of a compatibility with the neighborhood issue, which
Sure.
being Hill Street and being a very important artery of the historic district.
Understood.
Okay, that was.
Thank you, Zach.
Thank you, Zach.
More questions?
There are many questions, so if we can make way and allow. And make way. Thank
Somebody
you.
stand up.
Please step
Stop
forward.
waving around. It's
And your
cold
name
in
for the
here.
record, please.
Ann Pine. I am in this Hill Street district, one house over from the house in the property in question. There's no house on it, obviously. And I just wanted to speak for my neighbors first. We have
You
been
can't speak on behalf of your neighbors.
I cannot.
You
Okay,
cannot.
fine. I didn't mean it that way. On behalf of myself, I have enjoyed my relation with my neighbors and the fact that all our houses are of this scale that you have discussed, and we have all enjoyed privacy and a feeling of, I have enjoyed privacy and a feeling of the rural and historic nature of our houses. They are 100 years old. The property divisions are maybe 200 years old. I realize the house in question does not have any zoning issues at all. And I'm not against its being built, but I think the screening is very crucial. I know from my own experience that some new houses cannot be screened because of where their driveways are. And I know that the screening I've had to do has been 20 to 30 feet wide in order to obliterate a house not nearly this height. I'm not the neighbor, but I'm very conscious of it. And there is a beautiful stand of linden trees that I do see from our property everywhere. And I love the fact that it rises on the horizon and then falls. I feel that these arborvitae and Leyland cypresses, they are very suburban in nature, and I very much favor the mixture of deciduous trees and non-deciduous trees for screening. Upper stories, there's a wonderful flutter of leaves that cannot be replicated by straight hedges. I also saw the landscape plan, and these Leyland cypress, although necessary, they are in tiny little circles that looks effective, but the size they grow to, there's no way they will not impede. They will not impede on the parking area of this house. I would like to show you my suggestion for how to solve this problem that we all could feel on all sides protected by the landscape, because this is a very large house. It's not going to be easy to deal with in terms of ruining our feeling, as you spoke, of the proportion of Hill Street. This is very homemade. The dark black lines are what is currently being proposed. This is the house, this is the garage, which would be approached like this. These are the neighbors. There is inches in here with this driveway coming here. My suggestion is that the driveway be reoriented to the front of the house, which has 60 feet. And to me, this is a much more gracious house in itself of this size. To have a driveway coming in through the garage is, I don't think it does justice to this size house. I have reoriented my mother's house on South Main Street to have a driveway in the front, and it's made a remarkable difference in people's appreciation of the quality of the house. There's 60 feet here to do parking. This is Mrs. Janke. She has ample, there's also room to do screening here of these Leyland cypress in the front. She has room to put what she wants. I had room to put what I wanted, and I'm very grateful that I had the property to do this. There is no property here for screening on this side. I believe it's Mrs. Missett, Mr. Pressman. There's no property. There's no ability to screen in this driveway, which I think would take 30 or 40 feet to get in. So my suggestion is to put the driveway in the front and to landscape this entire side, and to put the garage over here with the doors to the garage on this side, so that this neighbor would also be protected from having to drive around and go into a garage. I don't know how much the potential owner of this will use the garage. Most people on Hill Street do not use their garages. They have them for various things, but they don't put their car in every night. So to me, this is a very gracious way to approach, which allows for 30 or 40 feet of screening over here that would satisfy all of us. I mean, it would satisfy me, even though I'm not there. And if the house were to shift, there's 50 feet here. This is what's current. If the garage went over here, the house could shift a little bit east and still maintain 50 feet from the property, but it would be 50 feet unimpeded by driveway and the noise of driveway. I believe Mrs. Smith that has a swimming pool here. It's right there. So I think this is a very gracious solution for the house itself and also for the neighbors who could easily screen. This is 30 feet with the garage over here for screening. So that I would respectfully finish, but I think this would satisfy
Show
all.
the applicant your proposal?
I
Have
don't,
you shown the applicant?
I don't know, is this the applicant?
Yes.
Do you want to finish first?
In other words, right now, you've drawn it this
Yeah,
way.
so that you can
I
plant
suggest this.
You can't collect that, excuse me. We're giving a little light to
sorry.
communication back and forth, but we still have record to keep, so dialogue has to remain
Oh,
on
I'm
our record.
sorry.
It's okay.
How's this?
It's okay. Don't be sorry. No, don't be sorry. Just
Okay.
making it difficult for us
In
to
other
record.
words, my idea would be to leave this open for planting, because I think you do need 20 or 30 feet to plant, and to give the front of the house away. I'm not aware of what's in the house, but I can't imagine it's not possible to work this out, because it leaves the body of the house intact, and it leaves, I assume, the back of the house is the wonderful part with the property, the pool.
And you're saying it's affecting not just one, but several neighbors, right? Several neighbors.
Yes, well,
Okay.
it indirectly will affect me, because I love, well, first of all, emotionally, I like our neighborhood, and I want it to stay the same. I think it's, if this house becomes marginalized by this situation, that affects me, because when something happens to this house, it's going to it's going to lose its value, and I feel we should protect each other's property values. And this to me seems a relatively harmless way to do it.
Okay.
Thank you. Anything further?
And I think it would make your house more dignified, personally, because I think that going in the garage is not a first-rate way to go if you don't have to, and there's no hardship on this one plus acre lot.
Thank you so much. Mr. Fort?
Thank you. My name's Eric Raymond.
Excuse me.
Excuse me?
Thank you. Go ahead.
It's my first time ever attending one of these meetings and speaking here. I have a house on Corrigan Street. I've had it for 25 years. It was built by Mr. Corrigan for his daughter Mary, and it borders on this property. I came out a couple of weeks ago to see the landscape plan, and it wasn't available. So I haven't had time to examine it. I haven't seen her plan. In the absence of that, I would request that since they got the landscape plan in late, we be given time to examine it and comment on it. I am particularly concerned about the second-story porch. This house is 3 times the size of my house in terms of square footage. In fact, if you include the garage and the outdoor space, it's more than 3 times as big as I think all 3 of the houses on the Corrigan Street side. The porch, people on the porch will literally tower over our house. There's no reason for a second-story porch out there. I'd be very concerned about parties and noise and people there. I'd be very concerned about the ability to look towards our property. I understand this is a wonderful piece of property. It's one of the last open spaces in the village. It was originally part of the Corrigan farm when Corrigan Street was a farm. There are wonderful birds that I've been taking care of, feeding for years, exotic birds and interesting birds. The ideal use of this property would be to go to the land trust. I understand that's unlikely to happen at this point. I think the house, I'll just summarize and say, I think the house is out of scale, and I'd like a chance to study the porch and the landscaping.
Okay.
Thank you.
And take heed to the survey, because the side yards, and that's one of the discussions that we were having here. We always, first thing we look at, obviously, when it comes to privacy, are second-story decks and the ability to view or impede on a neighbor's privacy. We looked at it and saw that the side yard setback, or the most affected area from the deck to your property, is 51 feet. which is substantial, take that in consideration with screening or landscape plan that they're proposing, it would be very difficult for anyone on that second story to view. But we'll definitely take that in
Okay.
consideration as well.
I'm sure you're right, I just haven't had a chance to examine it.
Understood.
Thank you.
Please step forward.
Hi, good evening. My name is Terry Nelson, and I live at 36 Corrigan Street, and that is a summer residence for myself, or a holiday residence for myself. We have had the house since 1993. I border the back of this particular property that's there from the Yankees property, and which is all woods right now and open space. I am the only ranch house that is in this particular area, so I am very concerned about the balcony and overlooking onto my house being the ranch house.
You say you're at the rear?
I am on Corrigan, so I'm on the other side.
You're on the west side.
On the west side, yes. Okay, I'm on the west side, and I cover that whole expanse next to the Raymonds. I'm right next door to the Raymonds, so I cover that whole expanse, and I am the only ranch house in that particular area. So anyone looking down from a balcony would be easily able to look down onto my property. I had a renovation done to my house 2 years ago, and as part of the renovation, we moved the pool from the center of the house to the back of the house and into the driveway area. So now I have a 10 feet setback from the fence that's right there. And during the summer, as a recently widowed person, I rent the house often as income to myself. And I'm very concerned about my tenants being there and having someone now right in the backyard, right there, where it's been very, very quiet, and I've had the same tenants over the years during the summer. Now there's going to be a lot of noise and other things going on there, which concerns me a lot and concerns my income of being able to keep my house there that we've had since 1993. And I'm also very concerned about, as I had said, the ranch aspect of the house and someone being able to look down from the porch onto the house and how the house is structured right now as being so. And that's pretty much it. I haven't seen the plans as well myself, so I don't see everything that's there in the landscaping that's been proposed. As of right now, I have a standard fence in the back of the house that butts up to the property that I've been replacing, that's part on the Yankee property, it's part as well as on my property, and I've been taking care of that fence. And recently, as the storm has just come, and from the storm from last year, the fence all came down, and I redid that whole fence. So are we going to have a taller fence back there? Are we going to have taller landscaping back there? I know the Yankees on their property right now on the front have double set of shrubs. Over on the Hill Street side, are they going to go and do that same thing there as a barrier? I don't know.
I would when you have the opportunity to, I would actually go and review the file in the building department.
Right.
There is a landscape plan here. They are recommending the trees and the size of trees that they're proposing to put as part of the overall landscape. I don't know if you heard what I mentioned
Yes,
about
I
the
did.
side yard setbacks and line of sight with the hedge and trees that are there. We can't do anything about noise. Noise is noise. It's our precedent would obviously be on the privacy aspect.
Right.
And whether you can show line of sight to the second story deck is actually going to impede on your privacy, then we can discuss what the alternatives would be.
Right, and as being a ranch house, that would fall into that aspect more, so I would say.
Well, you're referring to the size of the home in comparison to a ranch style
Yes.
home, and the house
I mean, I'm
overwhelming.
the smallest lot in the area. Okay, I have the smallest lot right in that particular area, and all of the other lots are much larger than mine, and I have the smallest. I do have the smallest lot because I was part of the house of Bruce Greer's house on the front of Hill Street, and that property was separated back in, I believe, the 70s or so, and that property was separated. So I have less than an acre, less than 3/4 of an acre. Actually, in that spot where I am right now. So it's a very small piece of property that I hold. Okay? And again, is this something that's going to be finished by June in terms of the construction, and what if it's not finished by June, and the rentals that I already have prepared for next summer, and the house is rented really for the whole summer, do I have to go back to those people, and am I still going to get that same?
Fortunately, the amount of time that an applicant takes in construction, again, is not something
But that
we can-
affects my income.
I understand that, but what I'm saying is what we have jurisdiction to discuss. How long it takes, whether you can rent your property or not, whether it impedes your rental option because there's construction going on. These are things that this board cannot control.
Right.
That's something you would have to discuss with the applicant and have he or she maybe discuss a time when they can do, or when they choose to do construction, not to start 7 a.m. in the morning or end before dark.
Right, but
mean, these
because
are
I don't
things
think,
that
I don't
happen
think
that-
that the right time to do construction on a home is in the middle of July
But
and
again, it's
August.
still not, it's not, well, I understand your challenge. And
I mean, I know
as-
some
as much
communities
as-
that go and have certain times, though, you cannot construct during these 3 months of the
But again,
year.
it's still not the responsibility of this board to control or
Mm-hmm.
even make a recommendation for that.
Okay, all right. Well, I'd like to certainly look at the plans and look at other alternatives that could be there, as well as speaking to the builder and what their plans are for
Okay,
that.
thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments? Please step forward.
Good evening, Bob Pressman. I live at 473 Hill Street, which adjoins this property. May I just be easier if I could just pass this up? I just want to refer. I have 5 copies.
Okay.
Oops, sorry. Each number, so it'd be easier to point to it as I talk.
Bob, you just built your house here, right?
I certainly did.
How long did it take you to do that?
To build the house?
Yeah.
We actually, we started construction in November and we completed by the end of June.
Really?
Yeah.
Good for you.
Yeah. Also, I just want to say that Elizabeth Metters, who lives next to me, highly concurs with what I'm going to say, and she's here as well behind me. So we're speaking together. We've actually looked at Ms. Pine's drawing, and actually we actually like this, and it's very similar to what we had thought as well. And that is that this, right now, this is basically a vacant woods with some major trees that sits on particularly on the edge of the property. And I've illustrated that here in these green circle boxes on the edge. And those do give a lot of foliage and leaves, right, which we think is important. These are major trees,
See that?
major.
Me?
Yeah.
I'm going to show the same thing.
Oh,
A real survey.
Okay. I'm sorry?
A real survey.
It's actually a survey given by the applicant, which I just drew into it. So.
Are you an architect or?
No, I'm just a hand
You're a
drawing.
layman, right?
of
So
the
for the record,
survey.
that you acknowledge that the
I'm
placements are not.
I'm definitely not.
Okay.
So this ring of trees, we concur, is very important and gives a lot of density and foliage. And we also think that it was smart what Ms. Pine recommended to move the garage to the back and move the parking to the side as shown here, because that allows the trees to stay. We also think that in addition to that, given the mass and size of this house, that there needs to be a fairly thick row of some new trees, evergreens. We think they should be at least 18 feet existing, because this house is going to be probably 30 feet high. And they should be along the row that we've drawn here, which then goes a 90-degree angle back here. So go across the entire back part here on the north and the entire side here. We also believe that on this flag lot, you come down, there should be a row of privet that comes down here to separate, because you have effectively two flag lots. You have our road, and then you have this road. And so there's got to be some separation. There is some privet there, and we think another row of privet on the inside should be put there as well to beef up the existing privet. Otherwise, you're just going to have two driveways next to each other. It's not going to look very attractive. So that's kind of the 3 points, basically, to the privet, keeping the major trees on the perimeter on 3 sides, and then a heavy row of trees right on the property line going north and then west. Finally, we'd also suggest some type of construction mitigation fence where the privet line is, which would, again, create a separation of 2 driveways.
You mean like a permanent sound sense wall, or just during the construction?
Just on the construction.
Not a permanent sound sense
Not permanent.
for
No.
screening purposes?
No, just really just a screening purpose for trucks and dust and noise, because remember, we have two driveways.
It's not within
That's
our
something we
purview.
don't-
We're
Okay,
talking about
well, let's just
construction.
say for all the construction, trucks coming down, you have two driveways next to each other.
Bob, not something that we,
Okay,
this board deals
fine.
with.
Then I guess the privet, hopefully, they put up, we'll deal with that on a permanent basis. So that's kind of the thoughts. Most of it's landscape. And again, I leave this with you.
So it seems to be that the overall consensus is more of the landscape and not the height, size, aesthetics of the proposed construction.
Moving, we like the idea of moving the garage to the back. We like the idea of putting the parking over here, so we concur with what Ms. Pine suggested as well. So that
The
these,
structure itself, there's no question, no issue with it. Just want to make sure on
Yes.
the record so later on, we don't hear, well, it's too big, and then all of a sudden now we have another challenge.
Understand.
Trying to make sure that we understand what our challenges are today.
Yes.
With the aesthetics of the structure as well as the landscape.
yeah, we have asked for one other.
Saying we, you.
I'm sorry, me and Ms. Meters, that we'd like to not find some other structures built here later. And so we know that there's a pool in the middle, and we'd like to know that this is it. That's in other words, that there's
What's before this board right now is the only thing that is being proposed.
Fair enough.
Anything in addition or any alterations have to come back before this board for
fair enough.
consideration.
Fair enough. Yes, sir. So that's our entire proposal.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I see the building permit?
Please step forward. You have to step.
Just wanted to ask about on that proposal, does that push that driveway towards Corrigan? Does that, I haven't seen that proposal.
It's not a proposal.
Okay.
It's just a suggestion, and you're more than welcome to look at it, because
Okay.
it's not entered into the record by the applicant. Okay.
Thank you. Here's one. Okay, we'll take a look.
Any additional comments?
Guess I get to be last.
Please step forward. Definitely not least.
Gentlemen, I brought.
Your name for the record.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
Barbara Missett. I'm the neighbor directly adjacent to the east of the proposed new construction.
One would say you're the one that's most affected, right?
I would think so.
Right, okay.
Definitely the one who's most affected. Now, I have brought these, they're just picture books. A picture's worth 1,000 words, as you said, to be passed out there. There's no text, really. It's just a lot of photos, but I've bound them together. And I have one for you, if you'd like. So that's because the fifth member is missing. I didn't know you were. Thank you very much. I got lucky. And let's see. There is a letter, but the letter will. Oh, yeah, it's okay. There's a letter in the back that we can discuss later. The first thing I wanted to acquaint with is the overview of where I am. So I brought these boards. Oh, sorry. I got a landscape plan from
Thank
the
you.
firm Farrell this morning, but it was not even in the records yet when I was there at the building department at 12:30 today. So, I mean, it's brand new, so I don't have much. Now, this is a board that shows their original plan, Farrell's original plan, without landscaping, which is what I really built this on. And this is what Squires Holden did for me, taking their survey and putting my property, my survey of my property, and my survey of the 473 property that I used to own. I've owned these things since 1980. I've been in this 30 years worth, as Mrs. Pine had just added to it. So this shows you, this is my right-of-way here, around here, going to the back properties. The Metters are back here. This is the Jonke's driveway going up. And this is the proposed, it's called a proposed driveway, but it looked quite large. I think I call it a parking area. And the garage faces west.
Right.
I mean, faces east, and therefore I face it. So I'm going to show you an updated, this board. Let's see, here we are. This is, it's a
I don't
Google.
want you to hit her in the head.
Oh, am I hitting you? I'm
So-
sorry.
Okay.
Not yet, right?
Probably done that before.
Maybe. So, this
Wouldn't
is.
be the first time in here.
Yeah, this is the proposed landscaping, and here's the proximity of my house, right here. So therefore, my house, where they've located the garage, is directly opposite
You're
my...
staring at a three-car garage.
Exactly.
Got it.
I'm staring at a three-car garage. My pool is right here. I will be staring at parked cars there. I don't care. Well, maybe they'll be hidden if we have the big ones, but so forth. So that, but the point is, it will be right there. And also, I've noticed that they come up here and they've left this wide open. So there's not even any screening down where we're driving up here. I don't know why they. Oh, and can you see that? Why? Is there a good reason to end that right there? I mean, the screening should go. I mean,
We would definitely be screening
I would hope.
down the driveway.
Now, this is the new. This is the middle of that lot.
Got it?
Here is actually my little house. This is almost 7,000 square feet, I believe. Mine's 2,000. The Jonkeys on Hill Street is 3,000, so that's double. I mean, we can't do anything about that because I know they're within all the proposed zoning, but it is of interest, and it is, as somebody brought up, outside of the neighborhood, Hill Street neighborhood. It's just not like that.
5,500 square feet is the proposed.
No, I think
house,
it's
right?
6,500.
Sorry?
5,700.
57?
in the middle.
Almost.
And that includes, that's actually.
If you're gonna talk, you have to come closer, I can't hear you.
What?
The proposed square footage is 5726, and that actually includes the garage.
Okay, well.
5726.
26.
Does
That's-
that include the garage
It does
space?
include the garage.
Thank you.
But that's still twice as much as the Jonkeys' house, which is fairly large, and I'm sure your house is about 3,000, I would guess.
Max.
Yeah, max, exactly. And mine's 2,000,
Okay.
and that's mostly high ceiling.
Mine's 15.
Yeah, okay.
So your challenge, is it with the landscape? Or
Well,
the size
yeah,
of the-
yes, it's the landscaping, but also the siting. I mean, so therefore, obviously, for obvious reasons, that double things really will look right over my
Guys,
pool.
can you guys rotate this house?
That's what.
Why don't you look into it?
Seriously, that's what we're all saying.
Well, I think we tried to center it so it had
Wait for
the least amount of impact on the surrounding properties. I
Well,
think that's-
you can't say that being right there with my pool and my living room terrace.
Well, it's very densely.
Is the concern more with the garage only, or
Well,
the
the
house?
whole, it's the garage, the whatever.
The activity in the garage
Yeah.
located there.
At some point, this board usually, when there seems to be such a community challenge with an applicant, we ask
A
that the
strong
app-
community.
we ask, but we ask the applicant to consider reaching out to a community to have an open dialogue, because this shouldn't be the forum for the back and forth. These things should be handled outside of, and then you come in here and present a case. Because what's happening right now is you're debating, and this is not the time for debates.
Right.
So it seems to be echoing the same aesthetics, and maybe at some point you could communicate with maybe, again, we can't force you. Your approval or denial won't be based on whether you communicate with neighbors, but we strongly suggest you do so, and that way it speeds along this process a lot more than what we're
Right now. Yeah.
suffering right now.
Did you want to continue?
I do want to continue. All right, so this is my house. If you said this is the driveway adjacent to the Anderson Chappelle house and the Jonke house. It goes all the way up and around to here. This is the wooded lot that's empty now. It goes around here. Now with this driveway here, I'm going to be sandwiched. I'm going to be peninsulaed in. I'm going to have driveway on 3 sides of me, which is really pushing, I don't know. So again, I agree with people to move the thing either forwards, further south, which then I wouldn't have it, over everything, or as Ann Pine has suggested, moving it over here. These properties over here the houses are right on Hill Street. I've been over. This is this nice lady's. I can't remember your name. Nelson.
Yes.
Yeah, I drove by yesterday, and she's right. But she's at the bottom. You see of that. She's not really. You're not really adjacent to. You're the
We
Jonkeys.
really need dialogue this way.
Yeah,
sorry.
okay. Anyway, well, that gives you, and that's the house I sold that used to be. This pretty much filled up with cement and driveway. So my pool base is right 20 feet away from there, that big graveled area as well.
Well,
So-
it looks like the applicant is willing to reach out.
Yeah.
So I would not force them to, but ask for their phone number and see if there's a way.
I actually already asked them
Okay.
who I would talk to.
I'm sure we can all, I mean, you
Yeah.
can deliberate and figure out a sensible and acceptable means
Right.
for compromise.
I just want to show you a couple, if you want to open the book, at least just to look at the pictures of this is my pool area. This is literally directly where it would be. This is my living room terrace, and this is my living room.
Uh-huh.
And that's the pool. So it's right there. The porch, I mean, the second floor porch and the cars and so forth. View from the living room.
You need more?
You can just go through this. I mean, some of you've seen because it's been submitted with their application. Now, the most important part of what I'm going to bring up tonight is something that I think does concern the board. Is the fact that somehow it's been overlooked by, and they probably didn't know, we'll give them, benefit they didn't know, that the planning board in 1992 said that the driveway had to have a 10-foot easement from the easterly line.
You're looking at this?
Yes.
Okay.
And there is not a 10-foot
That's the one that Jake
easement.
Buckheit signed and Moon Veridian and Louise McGuinn. It's highlighted. Yeah, sorry.
No. So that has not been, it certainly wasn't observed in the original submission, and even in today's landscape plans. I took the liberty of visiting Squires Holden, and they actually measured, scaled it out. And it's not adequate. In addition to which, in the new design on the landscaping, I now go from 50 foot, they go directly to the line, which they really shouldn't. There should be a 10-foot easement. And secondly...
Which is what this is saying.
Yeah. Well, yeah, well, but it's on I'm just looking at their plan, so that's what I'm saying.
Got it.
And secondly, instead of, I now have 50 foot to the line, which it shouldn't be, and 100 feet. Now this new landscape plan is crazy because they've made it twice as long. Now it starts here. It used to start up here. Now this is 100 feet. If this is 50 feet, this is over 100 feet. That's a awful big parking area, in my opinion. And gravel area next to a house 20 feet from the living room.
What you're saying is they've taken the easement 10 feet and increased it to turn it into a parking lot, and there's a lack of,
Yeah.
If you will, delineation between the two driveways there.
Right.
And is there
Well,
any-
also, they really wouldn't be allowed, they'd have to follow this driveway up, I mean, the line of that to say 10-foot east. And then, as I said, they've increased the length of it from the original plan.
Into the
Yeah, it's just,
flag
it's huge now.
Your issue is the amount of
Amount of-
parking area
yeah.
that will be either
Is that
gravel or
necessary?
concrete.
Is for design?
gravel or
I'm
concrete.
sorry.
I believe it's going to be gravel.
Could you go closer to the microphone?
It will be a gravel driveway.
Gravel.
Oh, good.
Have you looked into the landscaping easement or the easement on this property?
Yes, I see that we actually centered the driveway in that actual easement area. If the driveway itself is 10 feet wide, it's kind of impossible to not encroach into that easement. And we'd like to provide, in doing so and centering it, we could provide some screening left and right of the actual driveway itself.
Oh, no, wait.
It would be-
Why do you have to go?
Excuse me.
This is the-
Excuse me 1 second. If you guys are communicating with either the applicant or the board, it cannot be from the audience. It has to be on tape because every portion of what we discuss has to be part of public record, and that can't be picked up unless it's by microphone, okay?
Can I just say, is there any reason you don't follow the line in and leave that, and why do you have to get into this part?
If we were to maintain that 10-foot easement,
Again, these are dialogues that could.
Nothing to do with us.
Yeah, it doesn't have to do with this board, but these are discussions that should be
This
made
is a
between.
planning board, though.
This is not the planning board.
What?
This is the architectural.
No, I'm
board
just
review.
saying, though, that I would think that if there is an easement in place, that you would have to insist that they landscape, I mean, if they're going to landscape, maintain that. can they just start building in there or drive? I mean, can you approve that?
I would like to see a screening plan that encompasses a legal layout for
Yeah.
landscaping screening.
I agree.
That's
Right,
what
I
I was
mean-
going to ask for in a little bit, but I don't think we're there yet.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Well, you tell me. Do you want to post, I
Well,
vote to.
gonna
well,
let the
we're
chair-
still having discussions
Okay.
on the application.
Well, then I'm-
We're hearing your,
All right, then may I suggest, like others have, that we adjourn this until we've resolved some of these issues at least?
thank you.
All right, would that be a suggestion? Okay, so that, I think, let's see if there's
So
any
Barbara,
other.
your issue is
Yes, I
the
can finish.
screening and the rotation of the house, or not looking into the garage, and also this easement, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
And also, how are they going to get trucks up there from that 10 foot?
Not
your problem.
Yeah, not our concern.
I don't
I
want
hate
them
to
using
say
my
not our
driveway.
problem,
I did
but
that all last
Not that
year.
it's not our problem, it's just it's something we
Yeah,
don't have
it's
in
something else.
jurisdiction.
Okay, thank you very, very much for
Very
your
welcome.
presentation. I mean, for listening to my presentation. And look at some of these pictures and you'll see how close everything is.
Definitely will, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other public comment? Anything further from the board? Ryan?
No.
Christine? Pam?
No, I think it's obvious that we want to get in depth on a few items. I'd like to see the applicant come up with some alternates.
Zach? No. Any rebuttals or comments from the applicant? Please step forward.
We're definitely open for looking at a different driveway plan. Definitely open to all the neighbors' concerns, and we're open, everybody can contact us at the office to discuss further. And in regards to Ms. Nelson's concerns, I think if she was to take a look at the current landscape plan and the site plan, she'll see that the house location and balconies should not affect her. Okay?
Okay.
Yes, sir. Hey, so again, yeah, stick to the microphone.
Can I just, sort of the conversation of the neighbors would be like, we like to meet with them collectively, and so I'm just going to put that out, not for your concern, but just so they hear me, so could you stay, we could talk to you, and we'll work that among ourselves. Thank you.
Perfect, thank you. So at this time, you have work to do. You're asking this board to adjourn for a written, adjourn so that you can collect additional information and at some point, obviously, maybe dialogue with the community as well. Motion to approve applicant's request to adjourn.
I make a motion that we approve the applicant Elizabeth Johnkey's request to adjourn to our next meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next application,
Next
please.
application is Kurt and Lorena Strunk at 7 North Sea Road for construction of exterior alterations.
Good evening.
Could give her time for the traffic to change. Excuse me, we're still deliberating, so if we could.
Contributing. I don't.
I think so.
Good evening. My name is Kurt Strunk. I represent myself and my wife, Lorena Strunk, who's also with me tonight. We own the property at 7 North Sea Road. We hope this is less controversial. We've just proposing a few minor improvements to the front of the house. We've submitted an explanation of proposed work along with photos. The work really breaks down into 10 discrete tasks. And if it's convenient for the board, I can walk you through each one of those.
You can start at task one.
Okay. The first proposed task is to eliminate the redundant entry door on the north side of the house. You can see that in this first photo. As the house is currently configured, it has 2 front entry doors, and we'd like to eliminate that one. We think only one is necessary. The materials that we would use to cover the area where we eliminate the entry door would be the same materials that are on the rest of the front of the house, which are cedar shingles and white paint.
Do you have a copy, Zach?
I do. Right forward.
Sure.
You're eliminating the door, is that what you said?
That's correct. There are two doors.
Yeah.
Right, but the one on the right, the one that's
North-
marked
the north
task
side.
one.
The one on the north side, that's right, that's the more recent of the two. The one on the left is the older door that was part of the original salt box.
Task
So we
two.
would, task two. Task two is to cover, on the second page of the photos, you'll see the front porch. It's right now a fairly unflattering concrete. We would propose to cover it with wood flooring. And paint that wood flooring a light gray. We've included some samples of the colors in the package.
Okay. Are you raising that wood floor up? Is it changing the posts, the railings, or anything else as a result?
Well, we have to work that out with our contractor, but we don't intend to raise the railings. We really, so.
Slightly, if any.
Right. We.
Task 3.
Task 3 is the is to create a brick pathway. Right now we have a concrete pathway, and it goes to the center of the front porch. This is all shown on the third page, third photo. So we would replace the concrete pathway with a brick pathway that would be curved and end up at the new entry door, which
In
is
task
the
4, you're going to put a railing?
Task 4 is just to move the railing so that we could, to move the railing to the center of the porch so that we can enter into the front door directly.
Got it.
Okay.
Okay.
5.
Task 5 is to add shutters to the ground floor windows. Right now, the house has shutters on some windows. It doesn't have shutters on the other windows. And so we would propose to make that all consistent by having wood shutters.
The shutters.
I'm sorry?
You have photo examples of the shutters.
You
Are the
can see the
shutters-
shutters on the second to last page. These are the shutters that are on the side of the house. They would be the same. They're basically cedar shutters that would be painted green, hunter green.
Got it.
Louvered.
They're louvered, that's
Louvered?
correct. Yes.
Okay.
They're about 1 foot wide.
Okay.
Task 6 will require looking at two pictures on the third page of the package. You'll see that the window on the south side has no frame. There's absolutely no frame there. It was an Anderson window that was just stuck in there. Whereas the window on the north side of the house does have a window frame. You can see that in this photo. And it's got a very nice window frame. And all we're proposing to do there is to make the other window look like that window and give it a window frame so that the house will be symmetric on both sides.
Got it.
That's task 6. Moving on to task 7, if there are no questions, is task 7 is the creation of an entry gate at the.
It's a pedestrian gate?
That's correct. A pedestrian gate that would, where our property ends and the sidewalk begins, that would be where we put the gate, right in between the privet there. You can see that. And we've given you an example of gate that we already own this gate, so
Got
we
it.
would just
Okay.
propose to put that gate in there.
The white painted.
We would paint it green, actually.
And task
Same. Task 8 is, well, the right now, each entry door, you can see this on the first page, right now, each entry door has a lantern. Because we're eliminating this entry door, we would move that other lantern so the front door has 2 lanterns.
Okay.
Task 9 is to refurbish the screen door. In this photo, you don't see the screen door because it was taken down. We had to sand it and fill some holes, and now we've primed it, and we propose to paint it green and put it back on.
Okay.
And then task 10, the final one, is to replace the fence that we lost to Sandy. We lost in Hurricane Sandy, we lost our side fence on the north side of the property. That's this last photo.
Mm-hmm.
And we would propose to replace it with white picket fence.
Just that section, right?
No, the entire.
The whole thing?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Thank you for the task.
Good.
Zach, you went through the task. Is it a contributing structure?
It is a contributing structure. In fact, it's next to our wonderful North and Ferry ground. And I hope you enjoy that wonderful setting.
We do. We do. And, this is an example of a house that was about to fall down, but
Yeah.
we propped it up.
I think all these work items are absolutely spot on in terms of preserving this wonderful house. The scale that it is great.
Okay.
And I can only make the recommendation that a very simple way of getting a wooden floor on your front porch rather than a concrete pad would be to use a synthetic like a hardy plank that you can bolt into that concrete. It's not going to rot because it doesn't rot. You can paint it and you've got your floor. I've done that successfully in other restoration projects. Rather than removing all of that and then somehow rebuilding it so that you have a wooden floor, you can very successfully simulate that on that foundation. So I
Right.
suggest that.
Yeah, okay, we will do that. Thank you.
Just a thought.
Trex, there's a couple of companies that make
Trex.
flooring systems.
Because there's no sagging if you're bolting it into a solid concrete.
It will drain and so forth.
But I think all these work items are very focused on preserving what's there, and I think it's a good project.
Good.
Brian, comments?
I think it's great. Good luck with it.
Christine?
No, I just want to say thank you so much for this presentation. It makes me glad that I was here tonight.
Thank
I know
you.
this house well, and I'm really happy to see all the care that you're putting into it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah?
I would echo the same thing that they said, and I appreciate your efforts on the presentation and the restoration and the protection of this house. Thank you.
The house is part of my walk route.
Terrific.
So it would be nice to finally
Yeah.
see something being done.
Hope to make the
We've
front
been-
prettier. It took us quite a bit of effort to get the inside propped up so that it wouldn't fall down.
Any public comment on the application?
Okay.
It is in a historic district. You seem to have the consensus of this board for an approval. So at this point, we will adjourn for written decision by council, which should be prepared at our next meeting. Any questions?
No, thank you very much.
Anything further from the public? Motion to adjourn for written decision.
I make a motion that we adjourn for a written decision by our council, the application of Kurt and Lorena Strunk on North Sea Road.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Good luck.
I don't know, all this stuff is. Next. First, that concludes our historic applications for this evening. First application, non-historic.
First application, Mr. Chair, is Jasper Rose, 60 Halsey Street, to amend a prior application approval, ARB approval, rather.
Is the applicant present? This is the second time we've heard the application.
Third.
The third.
Can we get a letter to the applicant requesting an update on the application? Motion to adjourn?
I make a motion that we adjourn the application of Jasper Rose LLC on Halsey Street.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Next application, please.
Next application is, I beg your pardon, is Bill and Sharon Jacob, 52 Bishop's Lane, for rebuild in kind. This is the third one on this one as well.
Another letter out to the applicant to get an update on the application. Motion to adjourn?
I make a motion that we adjourn Bill and Sharon Jacob at 52 Bishop's Lane.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next application,
Next
please.
application is Gregory Fitch for 176 Elm Street for construction of two-story dwelling, pool house, and garage. This is the corner lot on Elm Street and Pelletreau.
Good evening again. Jose Jimenez for Mr. Fitch. We went back to our client with the with your comments from last meeting. He did went ahead and prepare the revisions to the design as per your comments, and I'd like to review those changes and get your hopefully approval, if not your feedback, so we can.
What we received is a landscape plan and a color rendering, correct?
Correct. And there are some new floor plans that are attached to the renderings. Some of the changes on the front elevation, I think it's page 8.3. He went back. Before we had presented, we had a sort of like a gable roof on the left-hand side. He created a whole heaped roof throughout the main structure of the house. A little dormer on the front elevation. He did keep the heaped roof over the porch. The railing on the porch to make it look more like a porch. That was one of your comments, or some of your comments in that regard. And also on the landscaping, there is a landscaping plan prepared by his landscape designer, Darius Landscaping, which shows the existing screening on the north side, and on the south side, and the proposed landscaping for the rest of the property.
Proposing 4-foot hedges?
Correct.
Such a cute landscaping.
Brian, comments?
I'm still. Are there going to be gutters on this?
They're going to be gutters, yes.
What kind?
White. Half round.
Half rounds?
Yes.
Which one?
Half round, white.
Okay.
Ham, comments?
Well, I think before we start on the landscaping plan, the roof is very busy. Can we look at A1?
Sure.
As an example. The stacking dormers on the Pelletreau side are
Correct.
a little tricky. It seems to me that the upper dormer with the the purpose of that is probably headroom on the inside, but the extra gable up there with the 4-light window, is that really necessary?
Well, we presented the application for our client. We didn't prepare we didn't work on the actual design. He's his own designer.
I'm sorry.
We're presenting the application for our client, but he's his actual designer, and it's difficult for me to answer that question. That it's probably that little gable there is probably not necessary, because I don't think it has anything to do with the head height. You can see that most of the windows on the second floor.
It's bothersome. Also, the gable just below it, the returns are not they're very, very busy. I'm talking about the returns that come
The
into
gable that is
6/1.
right below that one?
Yes.
Okay.
I think that I'd just like to see an alternate of that area, those two and their
Okay.
interaction. Frankly, the elimination of at least the upper one or another view of it.
Okay.
The first floor mid-band detail with the roof doesn't really bother me. I like the brackets, actually. The front looks very busy on the Elm Street side. Again, an introduction of another gable to break up those double hips on either side seems out of place with the style of the house, which is essentially hip on the top. I think that's almost a bell dormer, but not really on the above on the second floor. Right, Brian?
Yeah.
And the biggest issue I have, and it's one that one of your neighbors, Steve, is here tonight, brought up, which is, and I'm going to switch over to landscape for a minute. I don't think that the landscape plan is realistic on the Elm Street side, as it introduces the edge of the property, or if you will, the apron to Elm Street. It seems very busy. I'd like to see a more detailed landscape plan to begin with on this property in terms of how it affects and the screening on the public right-of-way on Palatrow and on Elm Street. I think you've begun to address the issues that the neighbor had brought up to your south, which is Mr. Lavinio. But I also think that there was another neighbor who I see behind you who lives a little further down Palatrow on the north side of Palatrow that had some concerns about the mainly about the house and the parking. The access, I've seen you've rotated back over to Elm Street, wasn't it, at one point?
No, it's always been on Elm.
It's always been?
Yeah,
But
correct.
you had some sort of parking thing going on.
It was
Palatrow.
suggested it was never
You
there.
adjusted
It was
that.
suggested
Okay.
it was never there.
So those are my comments right now. And
Okay.
I know there's a lack of a chimney. I said it during the first presentation on the house, which kind of bothers me in this neighborhood. I don't think there's another house on Elm Street without a chimney. It just really looks out of order. So I'd like to see that, if possible, introduced as an architectural element done in a brick, if that were reasonable. Also, the second thing, since this sits on a corner, I think the landscaping plan should also be inclusive of some, not just screening, but landscaping as how the house is going to appear, since it's a fairly high lot as it relates to the crown of the roads and so forth. It seems to me you need a second level in here of deciduous trees or of
Well,
something that
first of all,
breaks this
the
up.
landscape plan is not acceptable.
Yeah.
Because your, I guess your safeguard note on the bottom that references the plants, depending on plant availability and condition of site. That's irrelevant. When you submit a landscape plan to this board, it becomes an approved part of our of the application. Just like you would do renderings, any design, or if you make any design changes, it becomes the actual part of the file.
Absolutely.
So any information that's up here, you would have to already derive that it will fit in within the site, and that the property itself can withstand obviously the condition of any plant, tree, bush, hedge that you would add. So we can't accept anything with any disclosures stating maybe, possibly, what if scenarios.
Understood.
They would be part of the file. We did discuss the driveway being relocated to Elm. Did you ever discuss that with the applicant?
We did. He would like to keep it on Elm.
Okay.
Okay.
Just further, we have still the, sorry.
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay, we also have on A3, if you could tell us, just for clarification, I think the last time we talked, can you change front elevation to indicate that that's on the Elm Street and that the left elevation is on Palatrow? So
Okay.
we're looking at this thing in the right way.
Absolutely.
And then
The proper way to
also-
document it is north, south, east, and west.
if we can use the compass bearing points. And then also, the right elevation, we talked about the stair tower that you have where you've got 4 over 1 over 4, and then you've got 4 over 1 over 4, and then it looks like a panelization that's independent on that, with another door with a transom that's not aligned to the edge left of it, or if you will, towards Elm Street. And although that's not visible from the public right away, it kind of is. And I think it looks very, very incredibly busy. The rear elevation doesn't bother me so much, but it is on your way heading west on Pelletreau, again, very visible.
Correct.
So I think the fenestration doesn't bother me on the second floor, but I would be concerned from the Elm Street view, as you marked on A4, the right elevation is
correct.
Very prominent. But again, my major issues are the two gables that are stacked and facing Pelletreau, the necessity for them, the lack of a fireplace, the Elm Street gable on top of the hip roof designs, and the landscaping.
Christine, comments?
No, I think it's been covered. I mean, it's not an adequate landscape plan. It would be helpful to see if you're going to depict this, some landscaping around this, so we can get an idea. And your landscape plan doesn't seem to match up with what you have here. So I think all that needs to be clarified.
Okay. The front porch is missing on the landscape plan.
Any public comment on the application? Okay, bear with it, please.
I just have one little comment.
Your name for the
about-
record,
My name is
please.
Judy Maisels,
And
and I
you-
do live on Pelletreau Street. And I'm not really here for this building, but this is a working-class neighborhood. We don't need gables. We don't need, I mean, what is it? We're not in a state section. That's my only comment about what's being built in this neighborhood.
So you're saying that your issue is with the aesthetics of the proposed property?
Yeah, just
as
like
it
the
being
grandeur of the
grand-
property.
Okay.
Okay.
This is not a grand neighborhood. We are not the estate section. We're just normal people who live in normal houses and gables and double wide windows and all that stuff. I don't think we need it.
Okay.
Any more public comment? Please step forward.
Hello, my name is Adrienne Carter. I live at 20 Pelletreau Street. I am actually, the lot that I occupy, which is less than an eighth of an acre, was actually subdivided from the lot of the applicants. So
You're just east.
I, like this much east. I mean,
Okay.
it's very, very close. I understand people have, the right to build, but I agree with Celia in that it's not, unlike much of Elm Street, there are still reasonably sized homes, not houses, but actual homes.
Right. Okay.
And I think that has to be taken into consideration as well. I also had a question about, I know it was brought up last time, about the two driveways.
There's only one driveway.
Oh, it was my understanding that they were having a
And
driveway
you
to
would have
the-
been correct, but they've eliminated that.
Okay.
On their main entrance is on the Elm Street side, according to their latest, the latest
Right.
non-acceptable landscape plan.
Right.
To quote the chair.
Right, but the garage slash pool house is actually, 10 feet from my property line, or 20 feet from my property line.
Right.
So, again, there are very few people that I know in Southampton that actually put their cars in the garage. I think my mother is the only one I know. But it is a garage. So that's a little puzzling for me.
Okay.
And also the landscaping plan that you're not accepting, which I'm very grateful for. It is very busy. And one of my concerns, and it's always been a concern, my mother lives across the street from me at 19 Pelletreau Street. People have bought houses, built houses. She's now surrounded by 18 to 20 feet of hedge on, 3/4 of her backyard. And there are no deciduous trees on anybody else's property, only on hers. It's a quality of life issue. I understand in some ways there have been buildings, and I thought, oh my gosh, they're going to be, it's like I might as well walk around naked because they're going to be able to look at me. On the, I mean, I don't know if they want to, but
I hope that was a sneeze. I'll say God bless you.
He was sneezing. No, but we understand what you're saying. We get this, we hear this all the time.
I'm
so,
sure,
no.
and I appreciate the screening aspect.
Mhm.
But on the other hand, to have, this dense thing, it's not good for the environment. It's not good for the properties. I mean, they may think so, but I don't think so. And it seems to me that, and again, this might not be your purview, but in the landscaping plan, there has to be some deciduous trees. It just seems that there are few on the property, but they've moved most of them. And yes, very conveniently knocked one of the ones down that they really didn't want to have there. So
I saw it this afternoon.
you saw this afternoon.
Okay, but so you're concerned with all the things that were brought up tonight?
Yes, is all the, all the landscaping. Yes, it needs to have some sort of, not necessarily uniformity, but a thoughtfulness in how it's planned with consideration for the growth of any of these trees. They have moved some of the very large, absolutely beautiful specimen holly trees. The trunk of the tree is 4 feet from the property line. The base branches of the tree are 3 feet over my property line. Being a gardener, I know for that kind of tree, you can't just chop it up and down straight. I love having it there, but there has to be a consideration that things are going to grow. And having difficulty with some other people about, the hedges just can't be that high. I mean, deciduous trees do, clean the environment and provide, a lot of soil retention that evergreens don't. And so I'm just asking that they, if someone's going to plant something, they have to realize that it is going to grow. And if, is it something that they're going to, obviously they have to prune it on my side as well as theirs.
It's always better to have a landscape architect who's trained and so forth and
Yes.
who understands things rather than someone who may be able to get a little help. So we've requested the chair has requested that the applicant come back with a more detailed
Yes.
plan, and I think that we're going
Certified
to
plan.
ask him if he's got a licensed architect who can, landscape architect that can
Yeah.
put this together.
Thank you.
Yes, it
Showing
is
the
important.
caliper of the trees and
I mean,
the
it's just,
screening.
it also affects the neighborhood, how it looks. And,
Okay.
I don't want to be mutilating trees that shouldn't be mutilated because they have grown in 2 years up to the windows of my house.
Understood.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. Any additional public comment?
Connie Cornish, 41 Pelletreau. None of these plans were submitted today to the Buildings Department, so I don't think any of the neighbors have been able to look at the new plans, so I'd ask that we have an opportunity to look at what they've submitted. My biggest comment last time was that the garage was over the Buildings Department standard, and I wondered if they've reduced the size of the garage. It has, so we wouldn't know that because we didn't get a chance to see it, but it was over the Building Department's limit. Now with no driveway, I'm curious, how does it really define itself as a garage if there's no driveway? I think that's a question for the Buildings Department, but it becomes just a very large pool house, and it's got a full kitchen and a full garage. I'm curious what a full bathroom, what their intent is with that, if there's no...
You're talking interior, and if they... You're,
So they can rent it out with no C of O if they have a full kitchen and...
that they can't, cannot say that, or can I even ask a question as to what use is?
So they can
As
put
long as it's
anything in it
within-
that they want?
That's the building department's responsibility
Okay.
to dictate whether they can or cannot, We're looking at the exterior of
Okay.
each structure that's on the property, and that's it.
So we can be sure that it's been reduced in size to follow the building department's restrictions, since it had already come in here with the wrong size? Yeah. And that, I would just comment on the tree being knocked over. It's a village tree. It's no longer sort of standing, and we've had more than one of those happen on our street, where new
Going around
builders
knocking down trees.
have knocked down trees inadvertently to make room for what they wanted. And I would just comment that that has happened before.
Wow.
Well, I don't think that I would go that far.
It has happened before, and I'd like to make a public comment about that. It has happened before, and it has just happened, and
Guys,
it has
it's not the
happened.
venue. It's not the venue.
Well-
You should talk to Mark Epley,
Okay, great. I'm happy to do that.
What am I
Thank you
saying?
very much.
okay?
Any more public comment?
Please.
Sir, are you coming with comments?
Yes, he is.
Okay.
Good evening, Stephen Lavinia, 168 Elm Street. Okay, the problem is in the village now, all these homes that are going to be raised, okay? They are the blue-collar homes of Southampton. And the house that size is currently wants to be built there. It's just overwhelming for the size of the property. It's too big, let's face it, okay? It reaches all, it meets all the requirements, but it's just too big for the property. A house like that size should be put in the estate section or another section of the village or town that has an acre or two or more of land. It's just too big. That's my opinion, okay? And what's problem too also too, you should give some thought. These larger homes that are being built here and some of the smaller homes that exist on Elm Street and other areas of the village, the interior should really have a sprinkler system in the home.
Not within our purview.
Pardon?
Not within our purview.
No, okay, all right, that's food for thought. An existing driveway, as I mentioned, I think it should be put on Pelletreau Street because there's so much traffic on Elm Street and coming to the intersection of Elm Street and Pelletreau Street where the people don't very seldom stop there. Okay, it's going to be a traffic hazard, and there's a village tree that's in the area where they're going to be coming in to the new home there. And what's going to happen to that village tree? Is it going to be taken down or moved over? Anybody know? I have to check with the building department.
Well, the village tree.
Village tree.
Is that the one that got knocked down?
No,
that's another one. Yeah, that one's still up as far as I know since I left home.
There is, Steve, a process called a curb cut application that has to go in front of the building department, and they usually review that. So if you speak to John Foster or Chris Talbot.
Okay, I think that pretty much covers. Oh, one thing on the landscaping. We're the home to the south of the present Halsey house that's there now. And they did take some nice specimen trees, holly trees, and we have a great big holly tree there too on our own property. But where they planted, again, they planted the bowl a little away from their land, from their property line, and now what's happening, we just planted some small abrevieties, and those limbs are already growing over our abrevieties. So I suggest on that south side of the property, and then also the north side of our driveway, that they can plant a decent-sized hedge in there and keep it trimmed right to their property line. Don't let it overgrow. Because this house is going to be a spec house. It's going to be built, and the man's going to flip it over. That's his right to do, but, you know, we have some rights here in the village, too. If it's a personal home, it's going to be a personal home for someone, that's a little different circumstance. But
Still not within our
they
purview.
have America. We can do pretty much as we like in the law.
I just want to make sure that we know for
Yeah,
the record
no, I
that
understand.
the
Okay,
use
that's what I
of the
just wanted to
property
make
is
that right.
irrelevant to the board.
Correct. Okay, even though they meet the pyramid law.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very
and
much.
as you obviously said, they do meet every building envelope.
Correct. Envelope
pyramid
all the way
law,
around,
so forth.
right to the
So if there's
quarter
an
inch.
issue as to size in
Mhm.
your neighborhood and homes being built that you feel are out of character
Proportion, correct.
for your neighborhood,
Mhm.
that is discussion and dialogue for the village board, because like you stated,
Mhm.
fortunately and unfortunately for you, they're able and capable of building what they're building.
Correct. No, I understand. Okay. Appreciate your help. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Steve.
Any other public comment? Christine?
Yes, I just wanted to say that as I'm looking at this more closely, although the massing of your house and the way that you're using the property really, I don't think is harmonious to that street. You've got the parking in front, you know, you're using the length of the property rather than the width of it. And I think that the scale is wrong, and I think that this is not harmonious to the street, parking in front. Maybe legal, but it doesn't, I think.
I would double check with the building department, because on one of my recent projects, I couldn't put a curb cut where I wanted because it had to be 75 feet from a corner. And if that's the case, you're not going to be able to get that curb cut in there without a variance.
Okay.
Maybe this is a different zone and it's a different thing, but I just ran into that, so.
All right, thank you very much.
Anything further from the board? Sure.
I know this is not in the historic district, but it's in the
close by,
neighborhood
though.
it's adjoining.
Mhm.
Elm Street, of course, starts as a historic and runs to the north.
Yeah.
I'm just a little uncomfortable with how plain the detailing is of a house that's this large in scale. And I'm only commenting because it's simulating the look of a four-square from, let's say, the teens or 20s. So it's attempting to blend in by being a historical style, and yet the scale of it is so large that the plainness of the detailing is exaggerated by its lack. So, for example, what's called out is a band. There's a white plain board that's identified as a band.
Correct.
Which separates the first and the second stories.
Like a mid-band detail.
Yeah, well, typically, if the house is so large that it wants that detail, the upper story shingle comes down and swells out a little bit and is caught by a molding. If it actually separates, it gives some architectural dimension. This is just like a white line that's painted on the side of the building. It has no detail. So I'm just saying that's the kind of detail that a house of this scale, which is quite large, which is simulating the appearance of a historical house, it's going to lack that look entirely because it's lacking those details. And I don't see any moldings, I don't see any detail in here that would break that.
Some of the massing.
So I just feel that that's lacking.
The appendage brackets are not doing it.
Brackets, more detail.
More stuff. I would start with the dormers, would you simplify?
I'm amazed that each one's different. When I'm looking at this three-quarter view, which is a great perspective to see, you know, two sides of that, each roof is different. The little peak over the porch, the hip roof porch, the very steeply pitched hip of the main roof, the gable hip roof
has to go.
The shed roof facade, and then those stepped gables on the side, each has a different design. And
We're making a lot of progress, though.
some simplicity there.
Well, I think we're going backwards. But no, the thing is that we're presenting the application, we'll go back to our client, he'll make his revisions, we'll come back again, hopefully we'll have better luck. And
So you're asking,
Getting beat up on, huh?
Yeah.
You're asking for an adjournment then?
Yes, please.
All right. Nothing further from the public, nothing further from the board. Motion to approve applicant's request to adjourn.
I make a motion that we approve the applicant Gregory H. Fitch at 176 Elm Street's request to adjourn to our next meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Next application, please.
Next application is Kenneth Jocelyn, 27 Captain's Neck Lane, for driveway gates.
Good evening, Agina Rigdon, DKR Shores agent representative. We were here last month, and we made a couple of changes to the gate. We increased the spacing to 2.5. Okay, we did leave the height at 8. I did have a meeting after this meeting with the building department, who did confirm the fact that the code is 8 feet for max. And there should be a note in the file signing off on it somewhere. And then also regarding
Did you submit
posts.
the revised plans?
Yes, with a letter to you.
sorry?
Actually. With a letter to you, actually.
You didn't actually propose a new elevation showing the changes. You're saying to the letter?
No, new plans, new
Okay.
letter. Here's a copy. I'm surprised you didn't get it, I'm sorry. I have a couple extras if you'd like. It's still at 8 feet. The spacing is increased, like I said. And then you had a question.
Because all I have is the file. I'm sorry, the plans dated November 20th.
They were stamped in. I'm not sure what happened.
This is your new one.
It should be the new one. I have extras. I think that's the new
We
one.
just provide one more so that we can have a complete
There's another
file.
one. It's a smaller copy, though.
We're still at 8 feet, though.
Okay.
right?
It's still at 8 feet, but code is 8 feet for the top of the gate. I did confirm that, and there should have been a note from Diane in there, signing off on it.
I'd like to see a letter from the building department. There's no posts on this either. You're going to come
Okay.
back and give us 2 columns.
Let me explain.
Is
The
this a roll
posts are
gate?
the posts are 6 by 6. The posts are 6 by 6. Okay, it was explained to me that the reason they're so small, I know you thought that they were awkward at 6 by 6, is because they're going to be buried inside hedge. Okay, so they need to be small, so they're concealed inside a privet.
So the posts are going to be inset
Right.
into the
The greenery, yes. Because of the close proximity to Hill Street, there's only one other property between this particular property and Hill Street. We really would like the gate to remain at 8 feet as code allows.
My only challenge is we were back at
Code
the
may
original.
allow it, but I'm not going to vote for an 8-foot fence
Well,
that's solid.
well, we call.
Are you, Brian?
There's no other 8-foot.
There's no other 8-foot fence.
I understand what you're saying that the code will allow.
This came directly from the building department in their writing. I'm sorry, it's a
Thank
copy
you.
of the code.
Came prepared. Thank you.
They wrote in, that's actually Jackie's writing on the bottom.
Okay.
Brian, comments?
I still think 8 feet's too tall. I think it's creating a wall, and then with it buried into the privet, and it looks like the privet's going to be 8 feet as well. I don't find it appropriate for Hill Street.
Christine?
It's not on Hill Street.
It's not on Hill Street, it's the property away from Hill Street. It's the next lot over.
Any public?
It's on Captain's Down.
Christine?
I agree with Brian.
Okay.
No, I don't think it's aesthetically pleasing for the village of Southampton. I think it falls outside our guidelines, and it makes
Okay,
it look
could I
like a
have-
solid wall.
Could I come back with one more comment, please? I have Mark Hirsch from Walpole actually here is the designer of the gate that'd like to speak to you.
Sure.
Okay, regarding any other alternatives that might be acceptable to the board. Okay?
Okay.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
Sure.
Thank you.
Why did Bo leave? Discussion of trees, he couldn't take it.
Yes, we bore him.
I don't have copies for everybody.
Your
but I
name for
could-
the record.
I'm Mark Hirsch from Walpole Woodworkers. I have a 7-foot. I don't know if that would be acceptable with the same 6-inch posts enveloped in plantings. I also have this as an option.
Should I label these like
AB?
Please.
Yeah, label that one.
So we'll put this one A and this one 7 feet. Is that right?
This is B, yeah.
B. Okay.
And this will be C.
This is C. And where's A? Up there?
Yeah.
They have A.
All right.
And D would be what you approved last week, which is at 33 captains. That's with the scallop. That's this. Client really didn't want to do this, but
This is D.
that's D.
That's D. If you'll also notice on D, the top of the gate is actually at 8 feet. Okay, that you approved last
Posts
month.
are,
Yeah, but
the
posts
posts are
are.
8 feet, the gate's 6'5".
Nothing
No,
higher
it's
than
not
8.
C.
But it's not straight across.
It's not
Right.
straight across. You
Scalloped.
got it, exactly.
I'm fine with the scallop, the rest of them, no.
Pardon me?
Mark, your scallop is D or C?
The scallop is D.
D, I'm fine with D. Spacing would be still 3 inches.
They made it, it's 2 inches.
But you made it to 3 and during the last meeting, you adjusted it out to 3? No?
No, it was approved as was.
Thought we did. Would you be
Would you be
okay with the 3-inch instead of the 2-inch?
How about, well,
On the scallop?
I mean, they're really striving for privacy.
Right, and we're
what you see
striving
there
for
is 2 inch.
transparency. So there's
Yeah.
two different things.
Right.
Just to give you an idea, this board has been very, I think we've been consistent when it comes to driveway gates and not allowing the facade to look so compoundish, if that's a word,
Or expressway-ish, like 495.
where you just have one straight facade where it doesn't look inviting. Part of the mystique and the beauty of Southampton Village is that it is inviting. When you put up a big stockade fence, you take away from the visual impact of the village being inviting. So although I understand and this board is sympathetic to the applicant wanting privacy, we can't do that in risking the aesthetics of the village overall.
I could certainly manipulate the spacing.
So
Would you be open to straight across, a linear look with the more ornate posts
at 6 feet?
at 7 feet?
I'm not taking door number 1, door number 2. Option D is what I would
Well,
like.
it seems, we tried to work within the confines. It's a bit ambiguous now that,
No, you've proposed an 8-foot fence that's basically like 2 pieces of solid fences. To me, I'm not going to vote for it, period. I can try the rest of these guys. On your 4 applications, Mark, that you put in, D is the scallop one that looks, and I'd like to see spacing at 3 inches instead of 2, but I'm ready to accept 2.
The two,
And
it was
that's
2 and
Isn't
an, it was 2 and an eighth was the last,
Me?
2 and an eighth, I'm sorry, was
That's
approved.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay.
Okay, but I think that the scallop one and the limit on it, I would agree with Brian and with our chair and with a.
I mean, it's certainly more than a stockade fence. There's some ornate cap to it.
I've been on this board for 14 years. I see your application. It's pretty straightforward. That's where I'm at. You can address some of the other numbers if you like.
Christine, comments?
I guess I'm not understanding what the options are. Is this the option now?
This is, okay, we have door number 1.
I came armed.
2.5, which is our original plan, 2.5 inch
Spacing.
spacing at 8 feet.
Right.
That was the A.
This
yeah.
is A.
I'm not, no, that's a no for me.
We have B, 2.5 at 7 feet.
Mm-hmm.
We have C, 7.5 feet.
Right.
With columns.
Of columns.
With columns.
Yeah, and then we have one.
And then you have D, the scallop, with the height at its max 8, but slopes down to 6 feet.
No, it's the height is 6.5 inch on the top of the scallop. The columns are 7.5.
That's not what's.
No, it's not.
That's not
Well,
what's
that's
being
what I'd like
addressed
to
here.
see.
Okay, I'm just saying what
Yeah.
they're proposing.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
They're
Yeah.
proposing. That's what they're
I'd
proposing.
like to see an E.
Where do you want the top of the scallop?
6.5.
And the pillars?
Pillars at 7.
Would you accept matching the gate that you approved on 33?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
That one, you want to look at it?
I've seen it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But do we have it in, do I need to put this in the record?
Is that what you've
Actually,
given me
that's the
as
same
D?
one.
That
I
is
just
that is
changed the
D.
address.
So
D is the
Yeah.
actually the same one. Do you want to look
I
at it?
can't see it. You're 6 feet away from me or 7
Right.
feet away, but
I
I would
just
like.
the
changed the
actual
address to
approved
what was
copy.
approved last week.
That's the one that was approved last month.
Can you
At
give me all of the
33.
ABCs and Ds here?
On the lower portion of the scallop, you're 60 inches, 16.25 inches, so you're 5'6" inches.
On the
So
sides,
I'd be
yes.
happy to approve the 5.6 inches, okay? On the crease of the top of your round, you are at 60, which is 5 feet, you're at 6.5 feet. So I don't want to get in a peak contest with you, but this is the one that I would approve, period, which is the same one we approved before.
Look on the left
I'd
side
really
of the
like to
page.
move
that
forward.
It crests
Okay.
at 8. So
I'm sorry?
I said look at the left of the page. It actually does crest at 8.
I'm not back to her.
Again, I'm fine with
But
the
it
one
is
that we
it is
approved
D.
before.
It's option D.
Option
Sorry?
D is what was
It
you approved
matches
last
it.
month, and that would
Right.
be okay?
Let's make sure we are okay with the height you're proposing.
Same as
yours.
last month.
Same as last month.
Let's go over height. What?
It's 8 feet.
8 feet. On
So
the
you're saying 8
top.
feet
To the top of the, scallop, yes.
On the
Hmm.
top of the arch from grade
So we
is
understand.
8.
You're saying to the height of the crest,
Yes.
8 feet
To
down
grade.
to.
No.
Can we
Yes.
figure out for the record so we
Sure.
know what we're,
Okay.
what we're saying yes or no to? 8 feet down to 6. Is that correct?
On the top,
I'm sorry,
yes.
seven and
It's 8 to 6.
Yes.
you're saying no. Christine,
We're saying this one?
8 feet down to 6.
I'm fine with that. We just approved that.
Yeah, we just.
That's what I'm asking.
Right.
So that's where we are. 8 feet down to 6.
Oh, can I just say something, Mr. Chair, for a second? The gate is not at 8 feet, it's at 7.6, first of all, right?
Look on
8
the
feet
left.
is from grade.
It's from grade.
So
From
it's a
grade.
7.6 gate. with
Material,
the
yeah.
with the
I thought
okay,
you
all
said
right,
it was
so
grade.
can we just
From
clarify
grade.
that? I'm
I
not
said
going
from
to approve an
grade.
8-foot gate period, so it's 7.6 at the top of the
Just-
crown, right?
Okay, then.
And it tapers down to 6 feet on the side, and the columns are at 6.5 feet, or 7
So
feet.
just so I understand, from grade, can it be at 8 feet at that?
If you want to try to
middle point?
open it with a 6-inch snow, I would suggest that, yeah.
Okay.
Mark, seriously, there's usually a gap on the
There's a,
bottom.
yeah,
There
there's a
is a gap.
6-inch
Make this-
gap, usually.
There's a 6-inch gap, exactly what you're calling out for.
The gate itself
I'm not
is.
looking to.
Hear
The
me.
gate itself,
The
without
facade of
grade,
the
without
gate
grade.
itself is not 8 feet. What we're talking about
From the
is
bottom of the actual
difference
gate.
between the bottom of the gate, not the entryway,
Yep.
the gate to the top, 6 feet.
Period.
In the middle?
I have to
At
look
the
at
side,
drawing.
and 7 feet in the middle. If this is the way you presented it,
I have to
so
scale.
that you're coming off of an imaginary grade, then we would have houses that are 60 feet in elevation in this village. If you're proposed this gate and it's 8 feet off of an imaginary grade, I'm going to go into the building department tomorrow and demand that they rescind this approval. Clear?
I'm not clear. I don't mean to be argumentative. I'm not understanding. It's
The-
from grade, which is
A
established.
common thing is to have 6 to 10 inches of clear space for
Right.
snow and
Right.
other things. So I think what we're talking about is, when the chair said, the gate itself, from the crown to the lower part, maximum that I would have 7, so it presents as 7.5 feet. At maximum, that's my view. And it tapers down to 6.5 feet on the side, inclusive of your spacing, that would be fine. And the posts would be no higher than the crown of the gate itself.
As a licensed architect, you are correct?
You're not
I'm not,
licensed.
no.
You're
He's
not
a
licensed.
salesman for Walpole, which is a good thing, Mark. You've done a great job.
Okay, are you a licensed architect?
I'm a certified draftsman.
Right, so
Okay.
neither one of them.
A draftsman, I would
Yes.
accept.
Good
that
people.
If you could make the dimensions on the
I do all the
plan,
hard work.
I don't question.
Then we could get this approved with
Mark,
those
what we're
stipulations.
trying to
Just let
do
her
is
finish.
not
Just let her
lift
finish.
it.
Let her finish. Make the markings,
I have
please.
8 feet from grade. It's 6 inches. It's 6 inches clear, so it's. Am I signing this?
Yes, you are.
Anything. I have.
I think you're gonna need to get it to my
Yeah.
What do you
Okay.
need?
I'm gonna change this to 27. They want this one. And what's today's date? The 12th. That you can construct in this manner to match the same gate that was approved.
I want you to write the height and the spacing of the gates that we were proposing today. We're not talking about any prior approval, any other
Okay, well,
application.
it notes 6 inch on the bottom.
Okay.
I'll circle it and I'll initial it.
Then the height of the actual gate itself, from the base of the gate to the top.
7.6.
7.6.
What has to?
Yeah,
This is 8 shy.
it's 7.6 feet to the T.
Are we saying 7.6 feet?
The gate itself is 7.5 feet. It's 8 feet off in height, off the ground.
Off the ground.
Right, off the
In
ground.
the center, right.
Perfect. That's what
Right.
we're writing,
Ground.
correct?
Okay,
Okay.
right. 6 inch from the bottom and it's 7.6. I'm just gonna write it in the side. from the
As we know,
top.
there's a tremendous amount of pressure for you guys to put in solid fencings that are really tall. I understand that, but we don't want to have 9 foot, 8 foot as they're picked up and so forth, okay?
I'm just writing
As
this
they're raised
down,
from the
sorry.
crown.
Okay. I initialed it.
Okay, both plans,
Okay.
correct? There are two.
Do you have another?
No, I'm gonna use the 33s.
Sign and date those,
Yes,
and
sir.
we will stamp them, and that will be the gates that you propose
Okay.
on record.
Appreciate it.
Anything in, you understand that this is what's being approved today.
Yeah.
Any deviation from this, you're out of compliance, and you can be requested to
Change.
remove them.
Okay. You won't find that.
All right, well, actually, let me change this address. I'm just using the 33 plans.
No. Ham, any other questions?
Okay.
No.
Christine?
No.
Brian?
No.
Any public comment on the application? Motion to approve.
I make a motion that we approve Kenneth Jocelyn, 27 Captain's Neck Lane, for the driveway gates.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Have a happy holiday.
You too, Merry Christmas. Next application, please.
Hello, good evening.
Lewis 20.
Whoa, you like ran up here.
Getting late. Yes, name is Ron Villano, architect. Can you hand these out, or would you? I'll. Yes. Yes. Yes.
Thank you.
We're proposing a new two-story house at 20 Lewis Street. We've helped to keep the massing down by building under the allowable. I have a landscape plan also in there that you see in the third page. Shows screening around the whole perimeter of the property. A lot of this is already existing. Heavily screened. The western arborvitae to the west is about 30 feet high. To the north of this is a 3.5-story building, apartment complex thing that we're screening. We're going to introduce some good trees and landscaping. It's a flag lot. You will not see the house from the street. You will not see any piece of the house from the street. It's a very, very, very deep flag lot. At any angle, you won't see this house. Not that it's not a beautiful house still. You know, we designed it well to be the cottage style, shingle style cottage house. So kept symmetry and tried to keep true to other houses that we've also designed in the village. You can see there's details too for a different trim, and there's also.
What's your roof, Ron?
The roof is the roof height, or the roof material? Shingle.
What?
Red.
Asphalt?
It's
Cedar?
Yeah, cedar. Yes, red cedar.
Danish blend.
Danish blend brick. All trim is white. Red cedar shingle at the
Do
facades.
we have notification on the file? Did you do public notification? You have the,
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
It's in there.
and the right, the,
Yes, the posting and mailing.
posting and mailing?
Yes.
And you have the,
Affidavits.
Yeah.
Yes. Submitted.
Well, I'm just having difficulty reading the front entryway. Do you have the detailed?
The front entryway.
Okay, never
Again,
mind. I see
traditional.
it on the north side.
Yeah, single. Yeah, there you go.
is the,
What size are those columns?
You look at the detail. It's 1'1" at the main body of it, and then there's trim to the top and bottom. And these are standard to other.
I'm sorry, what was that answer? You have a 13-inch column?
13-inch column, yes.
Okay, and you have a capital on it?
Yes. Capital on the base.
Skylights in the rear deck, huh?
Just bring light underneath, because it's the east side, and to prevent from getting too shaded under there. But that's at the rear.
And why the garage facing forward?
Garage, it's actually it's facing forward because of getting the cars in there, and also it's set back from the front facade at two levels. If you look at the site plan, it's pretty set back. It's tiny. It's
Well,
hidden.
that was a very good answer. Thank you. I don't have any issues with this.
I mean, because it's going to be asked, you know.
Okay, of course, yes.
Christine, comments?
No, I'm still looking.
Ryan?
I just think the columns are too big in the front. I mean, it's my personal opinion, and I think the swoop on the second floor is a little bit too exaggerated. But other than that, I think it's fine.
Pam?
I'm fine with it.
Christine?
Sorry?
I have no more comment.
Any public comment on the application? I have no issue.
Is this within the so-called Lewis Street extension?
Proposed extension
Proposed.
area was never proposed, it was
It's
voted
on the
down.
National Register, it's not on the local register.
It was
Yep.
voted down.
Why do you have
No,
a...
it's on the National Register, it was not adopted as a local.
Right, you're right, you're right. It's the second house
Just that
in, it's a flag
it's a
lot.
flag lot within.
Exactly. It's to the east, or south, I'm sorry, northeast.
Any questions about the aesthetics? Zach?
No, I think, given the fact that it's going to be set well back from the road.
Motion to approve.
I make a motion to approve the application of Lewis 20 LLC on 20 Lewis Street for construction of a new two-story dwelling with attached garage.
Second?
All in favor?
All right, good luck.
Good luck.
First, Pheasant Close, construction new two-story house.
Good evening. Mayor Ontali, McDonough Conway Architects, here on behalf of my client, First Pheasant LLC. These are the reduced versions.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. How many square feet is this house?
6,500.
Okay.
Basically, if you look at the survey, I don't know if there's a copy in the file, we're replacing the existing house with almost the same size dwelling. Very much in the same exact footprint, same location, almost the same setbacks. The initial thought was to renovate the house, and after going through the numbers and the construction and the figures, they decided to replace it. It would be almost same amount of money to replace the house. It's 6,500 square feet, 2 stories, meets all the ordinance. Cedar roof on cedar breather and 15-pound felt. Cedar perfections for the walls. Marvin windows, double hung 6/1s, white. Copper gutters and leaders. Nothing out of ordinary, and I think if you see the house that's there now, it's definitely a huge improvement to the circle.
Brian?
I'm fine with it.
Christine?
No, I'm fine.
Pam?
I'm fine with it. It's appropriate.
Thank you.
Any public comments on the application? Motion to approve?
I make a motion that we approve First Pheasant Close at 4 Pheasant Close West.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Good luck.
Thank you very much.
Next application is Georgica Builders, 30 Palitro Street for construction of two-story dwelling.
Where's the building permit for this?
In terms of this guy? I beg your pardon, sorry.
No problem. And here's the
Is there any difference from this filed set and this set? There is, okay.
Maybe slightly.
Slightly, okay. Slow down.
Shoot.
This is a 3,200 square foot house proposed at.
Notice the posting, notice the mailing is in the file. The mini sets you're saying are slightly different than your full sets, is that correct?
Yeah, let him finish. Go ahead.
Yeah, slightly. Basically, what I'm doing is I'm recreating the house the same width as the house that's there now. If you look on the plan that you have on the front profile, on the right side of the house, that's set back, but the way that it's, if you look at the, like the landscape plan, you could see that that's just a stairwell, that's set back, that you don't really see that from the street as the profile. And also, on the left side, there's a 6-foot spot where it jogs out, which is also set back. So basically, the front of the house is what's existing there now that I'd like to demolish. I kept the massing of the house down. I'm entitled to, I believe, 35 feet, and we made it 27 feet in height. I also set the house back 5 feet to 35 feet. And it's, you know, it's in the character of the neighborhood. There's other houses that are 35 to 3,700 square feet across the street. And some of those houses are 32, 33 feet high.
Do we have pictures of the neighborhood?
And the existing.
No, but it looks like he does.
I have pictures of the screening that's there now. There's some of these evergreens that are existing, they're 25 to 30 feet high. And I agreed with one of the neighbors that I would keep the screening there and not put privet hedge, which I'm willing to do.
Brian, comments?
Thank you.
I like the scale of the house. I think it's a nice scale. I'm having trouble with the dormer over the double window at the top, the way it's tied into the eave of the roof.
Well, I've built this house before, and I actually have a picture of it, the way that it's, you know, that it's finished. I think
Does
maybe.
it have the same sort of pseudo half timbering that you
Yes.
show here?
It's going to be the exact dormer as that. It's the exact house, except there's a stairwell added to the right side.
Sort of the reverse.
Right.
It's all painted white, so it's not as pronounced as it is in the drawing.
It's just that the drawing shows it as a continuous brick, and here it's a traditional dormer.
Yeah, it's going to be exactly identical.
So
to
the
that.
drawing's not correct.
Well, the drawing is just for, we didn't put in construction drawings yet. Those are just.
Okay.
That's why it says this drawing for architectural review purposes.
It appears that this
So it's going to
window
be
is
exactly
on that
like this
wall.
one?
It's going to look more like that, right?
Continuous with that wall.
It's
This
going to be
doesn't
exactly
come out.
that drawing. I'm using the same exact plans.
So this is not.
That's what I'm using.
Then there's some cut, some that.
Okay, so it's just reversed.
Flip-flopped.
It's just reversed.
Right, but see how there's cut lines there to make it a dormer?
Yep.
The plans he submitted don't show that.
Okay.
Well, I think because it's a
Say it
flat.
again, Brian, I'm sorry. What did you say?
Look on the plans. I marked that up.
All right, okay.
It's not drawn as a dormer, it's drawn as a bump up in the roof.
Oh, you're right.
I think that's because it's not three-dimensional. I mean,
Yeah.
it doesn't show the gambrel coming forward too, but that's coming forward also.
You're just missing some lines.
Yeah, you're right.
Your A3 does show it that way. The side shows that this is the house.
Right.
Drawing
A3.
Yeah, I see it.
I'm fine with it then.
The second floor bumps.
Yeah.
3 locations, right? Okay. And the photograph is representative of what you're going to build on that.
Which
The photograph that you just put in?
Yes.
Okay.
That's exactly it.
Christine, comments? Pam?
No, I'm good. I think it was a good point that Brian made, but I'd like to see the photograph come in to the record as the detail.
That's fine.
Okay.
Christine?
Yeah.
Put that to Rick.
Any public comment to the application?
I live next door, Judy Macy's, and I'm not at all averse to them building a house at 3,200 square feet. But there's also a second house on the property that gives them 2 C of Os. And I'm just concerned about parking if they become 2 real family houses with the 1 driveway and how many bedrooms, and parking places minus, because the way it's been for the past 23 years, when the people were there in the summer, there were a lot of cars and the driveway really didn't handle it. And I guess I also don't understand that if you knock a house down, we got burned on Woolley and Pelletreau. I don't know if you know that guy. Because he got 14 variances on existing structure. He raised the whole place and got to build exactly what he wanted by knocking everything down. So I'm just here to make sure something like that doesn't happen.
I'm totally aware of that.
I mean, we really got busted by this guy. And I've spoken to, are you the builder?
You dressed, yeah.
And you were really nice and very friendly and all that, but I'm just here to make sure that what gets said is going to be done is done. That's all.
The only thing that this board has,
I guess I'm learning that, and I
Yeah.
think that may be a flaw to the village, that there are too many places you have to go to
there
get
aren't
an
too
answer.
many. It's all, every portion of enforcing what has been approved is the building department.
No, but I'm just saying, I think that may be the problem with the village and what's going on. And you were very neat about not putting privets up front, because the beauty in the village has been the grass to the road without the, So anyway, I think you were terrific, but I'm here just to make sure that what's said is done and not more, and it doesn't get,
We can only approve what's been proposed before us.
okay.
If he does anything in addition to that, or does anything altering that, it would have to be reported to the building department, and they would enforce
Okay,
it.
and the only other thing, you mentioned it was gonna be wider, when I spoke to you on the phone, and I'd rather see it go back, because there isn't, my property was half of this property when they built, my house, and none of the lots are large, and it's nice to see side yards, and we're losing them on Pelletreau Street. We have lost a number of side yards. So,
Understood.
anyway.
Thank you. Any more comments?
Again, my name is Adrienne Carter. I live at 20 Pelletreau Street, so I'm to the west. I'm curious as to how, I just have a question of procedure. He has given the picture of the house that does not match the plans submitted?
No, that's not correct.
That's not correct. So
No.
they do.
Yes, they
Okay.
do.
But I
Just
would,
unfortunately how AutoCAD works, sometimes you can't see all dimensions.
I am familiar with that. I would just make a comment that there, right now,
You have to
there
direct
are
the comments.
Sorry, not that many houses on Pelletreau that are, whatever, how tall, they're not that tall. Most of them, while having been renovated, there is a lower profile. And in some ways, again, this is not your purview, but it's really a problem in the village, is that on one side is the Elm Street side. That's on, I'm sort of squished between the two buildings. And to take it as a whole, I understand you can't, you can only approve what's in front of you. Is that lot, is it possible to divide that lot? You know, you don't know, it's not in your
Not our
purview.
gig.
Okay, all right. And I guess I do have a question for the builder in terms of if he is making it wider.
Making what wider?
Making what wider?
The house,
What's been proposed
No.
today is no alterations and
Is
no
the
width
Yeah,
of the
it's
house.
static.
okay.
Okay?
Okay.
Any other public comment?
Connie Cornish, 41 Pelletreau. I would just say the three houses across the street aren't even remotely as tall as what he's proposing. That's fine. And the two neighbors, my neighbor and I, never received notification of this property. And I have checked with them. It is on the list. I've checked with that, but we never received any notification. In addition, his posting was flat on the ground and not put up properly. It's irrelevant in retrospect. I get that, but I just wanted to make a note of that.
No, it's
not
not that it's
irrelevant.
irrelevant, no.
Not irrelevant
Proper
at all.
posting and mailing of any application is definitely relevant and part of the procedure in any application, so I don't need to think that it's irrelevant.
Fran
But you're-
Sadowski and Connie Cornish, neither one of us received
Yeah,
notification.
you,
gotta go up to the
I'm happy to, happy to.
last name?
Fran Sadowski and Constance Cornish and Jim Curcio did not receive notification.
The other-
And his posting was really flat on the ground for most of the time. It was not, I think his landscapers must have run over it, but it was never posted but for the last 2 or 3 days.
She said she checked it, that they're on the list.
I'm sorry? You checked it and that you are...
They're on the list.
Yeah, we're on
Well,
the list.
Unfortunately, I can't answer to the mail. They properly posted, they properly mailed. If you're saying that it's on the ground, and you have photos showing that, I mean, procedurally speaking, that's something different, but
Did you and Jim see the posting, though?
No, not until
Not
2
until-
days ago.
okay,
And
got it.
I knew about it because of the other house, not because of this.
Understood. Thank you.
any more public comment? Anything else from the board?
I'll just make one more public comment that is, sorry. Adrian Carter, 20 Pelletreau Street. Again, this is a very frustrating thing that it seems that there's so many issues that do not, that with the building of a house that don't, there's no sort of central mind bank on
Adrian,
this.
can I just interrupt for a second? The
Sure.
fact that we do a posting, and we've improved that posting in the last 15 years, 10 years ago, and so forth, is a great thing. The fact that there's some things that have slipped by on occasion, there's evidence that you're here tonight on both applications, and
Right.
I'm glad about that, okay? The building department does a really good job. I think the chair is saying he's going to bring it to the attention in the file to the building department again. If the board finds that it hasn't been posted enough, we can ask, and have in the past, to ask it to be reposted. Obviously, that's up to the chairman and so forth. We haven't needed to do that in quite some time.
But that's after showing evidence that that's the case, and in this situation, nothing's been presented other than it may have been down a day or 2, a day, 3
Right.
days. I don't know. We don't know. We don't have evidence of that.
Exactly.
Came in with photographs showing it was on the ground. That's something different. But as of right now, we have to go under certain assumptions, and the assumptions are that the application was properly posted, it was properly mailed. The fact that you're here states that you at least knew some reference to the application.
I got the notice. My mother, who lives at 19 Pelletreau Street, did not. Just as a
Understood.
matter of fact.
There is an affidavit of posting and mailing by the applicant, and the penalty of that, I believe, is perjury. So, we're going on
I
that basis.
understand.
Certain assumptions. Okay.
I
Some
understand, and I do, but I do have a question, and hopefully you can help me. There is nowhere in the building construction regulations that refers to the time,
10 days.
the limitations on when construction can actually take place.
Again, I have to
It's not in the
reiterate.
it's
I
only in the
understand.
noise ordinance.
I understand, but again, you're referring to factors or conditions that have nothing to do with the board, and we really can't entertain it, because if we do, it sets a precedent of us going outside of our jurisdiction.
I understand. Can you refer me to someone that?
The Community Complaint Board is where you should go, and this is not it.
Stop it.
It's
The
not.
building department they are the enforcery board or department that handles all concerns that have to do with construction and building.
Thank you.
And if you don't find resolution, I would suggest you go to the trustees.
Okay.
Okay, because this is not a
I
new
understand, I'm
reaction.
sorry, it's the first time here, it's
Understood.
nice to,
It's okay. I'm sure you,
Motion to approve.
I make a motion that we approve Georgica Builders on 30 Pelletreau Street.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And our final application for this evening.
next application is Old Town Development LLC for construction of two-story single-family dwelling, garage, and pool house.
Hopefully it's as good as the last one.
Yeah.
This
What's the next in?
Yeah.
Is it a duplicate of the last time?
Not a duplicate, but hopefully you'll like it just as much. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is John
You have any
Keane.
plans for us?
I do.
Let's just pass them out. Okay. John, it's 4 acres?
4+ acres, yes.
Okay.
Could you pass those up for me? You had asked me last month to make a
Smaller.
reduced copy, so we put a book
Appreciate it.
together for you. So
Thank
you've
you.
got it. I don't know if you need it or not.
Could I just get your name? I'm sorry, they interrupted.
John Keane, Kean.
Interesting.
I'm the developer of Old Town on Wickapog Road and Old Town Road. I'm here tonight for lot number 7, Old Town Lane, which is approximately 4.03 acres. We're proposing a 10,963.75 square foot house. Here's the notice of,
John, what was the square footage of the other one, about 12,000?
I think just 13,000.
Right, okay. Same acreage?
Approximately, the other one was just a hair smaller.
Are you going to continue an undulation of the houses in this development?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm happy to, we meet all the criteria. We either meet or exceed all the setbacks, height requirements, square footage, lot coverage. I won't bore you with going through all the stats, but they're all on your
That would be nice.
pamphlet that I gave you. It's been a long night. I don't think you need to hear all that. We have added to the back of this the materials which we're going to be using on this home. We showed you photographs of all the various types of materials.
I have these chairs. Brian, comments?
I think it's beautiful.
Christine?
I think it's gorgeous.
Pam?
Just one question. On figure 8, why are you mixing chimneys from brick to stone?
It's not that we're mixing. They're just like
Looking at
ones.
it from a different perspective?
No. They're different materials. Like we're showing garage doors, so you don't look at anything but the garage door on that one photo. Don't look at anything but the roof on the one photo.
Straighten that out so we're not looking at the two chimneys.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
I'm looking at this.
Right. That photo is not for the chimneys.
Okay, the photo is what, for the roof pitches?
That was correct. We wanted to show you an angle of the
I
roof.
got it. But, so the finishes
Finishes are
wouldn't be
correct.
mixed like this, is that correct?
Correct.
The finishes of the dressing of the chimneys would not be
No,
mixed.
they're all brick.
You notice what I'm,
Yeah,
They're brick.
Yeah, they're brick.
Any other comments?
no, it's a reasonable question,
Okay.
because you also have that material differential on between the garage as well, so that's stone.
Again, that's just for the garage doors. Right. We're just trying to show
I
you.
think it's a beautiful project, and it's a terrific presentation.
Motion to approve.
Make a motion to approve the application of Old Town Development LLC, the one at 7 Old Town Lane, for the construction of two-family dwelling, garage, and pool house.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Good luck.
Thank you very much. We'll see you in a few months, or a few weeks.
Really?
We'll see you next year. Thank you very
Okay.
much. Have a
Left
nice
over are the minutes from November 13th. All board members present?
Yes, Pam, you still had comments on those?
I don't.
You're okay?
I'm fine. Otherwise, you guys would kill me.
Motion to approve?
I make a motion that we approve the minutes from November 13th, 2013.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. November 27th.
Yes, I have everybody.
Everyone had the opportunity to review. Questions, comments, concerns, errors, or omissions? Motion to approve.
I make a motion that we approve the minutes from November 27th.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
And motion to close December 11th, 2013 meeting of the Architectural Board of Review and Historic
I
Preservation.
make a motion that we close this meeting, December 11th, 2013, of the Board of Architectural Review and Historic Preservation.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Good night. Motion to reopen.
I make a motion that we reopen the meeting of December 11th, 2013 of the Board of Architectural Review and Historic Preservation.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Discussion on panel as to our next meeting, which is Christmas. For the record, we must vote on whether to either reschedule it to a later date or to rescind until our new year. Floor is open to discuss.
Rescind.
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 All right, motion to rescind our meeting of December 25th until our next meeting, which will be January 8th. Motion, is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion to close.
I make a motion that we close the November 11th, 2013 meeting of the Board of Architectural Review and Historic Preservation.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Good night again.